Silencer Central. Folks, if you want to learn something new right alongside me, check it out at silencercentral.com. I've never put a suppressor on any of my weapons, but I'm going to start now, and I'm using Silencer Central to help get me started because they walk you through the whole process, to include you can ship the rifle to them, they'll thread it, they'll put it on, and they will ship it back, and you can make payments on the whole thing while you wait for all the licensing to get approved, which they take care of for you. It's a great process, and it's a great company, American manufacturer, right there in South Dakota, and we are really excited to be partnering with them. So check it out at silencercentral.com or give them a call at 888-781-8778 and let them know that you heard it on the Western Huntsman. Hoffman Boots is my go-to boot. I love the Explorers in the 8-inch, and they've got the Vibram sole, totally waterproof, no break-in period. They just glue your feet to the mountain. You can't ask for more out of a boot, and you don't have to break the bank to get a pair. So check it out at hoffmanboots.com. Again, another American company. Local North Idaho friend of mine who runs this company decided to make some great hunting boots for all people that are serious about getting into the backcountry to chase elk and deer and bear and everything else out there. So check it out at hoffmanboots.com. Use promo code all caps lock Huntsman10 at checkout to save you 10%. All right, you guys know I like to go north to Alaska. Let's kick it off. There exists a threat. From anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the Broken Town studio right here in Clark Fork, Idaho. After some severe and unruly technical, challenges here, I finally got this podcast started, and I'm pretty excited because I'm a big fan of the guest this week. His name is Adam Grenda, and he's with Stuck N The Rut. Adam, brother, I appreciate you joining me, man. You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Okay, you cut out there for a minute. How are things, dude?
Man, I'm just busy. That's why it took me so long to kind of finally had a time to sit down with you. And wife's in Anchorage currently, so I'm a single parent to 5 kids tonight. And hopefully it's not going to be too loud in the background and they're not killing each other.
You know what? I respect the fact that or what you're doing there. 5 kids is a handful. So, I think I speak for the whole audience when I say I think we can forgive you if we hear some background noise, man. So,
yeah,
I want to apologize on air here for the technical difficulties we had trying to get this show kicked off, dude. I don't know why, but I couldn't get you coming through the board, and we were talking fine, and then all of a sudden it went away. Anyway, sorry about all that, man.
It might have something to do with I'm 3,500 miles away, possibly. I don't know.
It could be. Well,
yeah.
let's start with that, man. Kick us off with give us a little bit of background on you, and tell us a little bit about your lifestyle, what you do, and I think most of my listeners are pretty familiar with Stuck in the Rut, but give us a little background on that as well, and we'll just kind of go from there, man.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Post Falls. First deer hunt around Athol, Idaho. I was 3 years old with my dad. So I'm shooting a little towhead buck and a clear cut, right off the side of the road, sitting in a pickup, and I was just enthralled with hunting. And if it had a pulse, I was going after. I wanted to kill it. Squirrels, grouse, small game. Did a lot of small game growing up. Shot deer. North Idaho. We wanted to go down south to be able to glass, more towards southern Idaho.
Yeah.
Shot my once in a lifetime Shiras down there when I was 12. I just did tons of hunting. Got into college, partied a lot, drank my face off. It's pretty hard to get up at 1:30 in the morning to go elk hunting and hiking in the dark when you are closing a bar down at 2:30. I found out, so my hunting kind of took a back seat to being a drunk, right?
Yep,
And fast forward in college, I was in an outdoor recreation program. I'm working the summers up in Alaska, being a pilot for fishing lodges and stuff every summer. I'm going to Eastern Washington University. My buddy's like, dude, you got to get on this app called Tinder. And I'm like, I don't need to find ass on a freaking app. I can just meet girls like a real man. And they say, oh, no, it's crawling with girls. And I had exhausted all these possibilities. The girls in my outdoor recreation program who liked camping, but that was like the extent of their outdoor experience. And you're not going to find a good girl at the bar. And so I was like, whatever. And along comes this redhead. And she was the sister of all the Stuck N The Rut guys. And I kind of knew about them a little bit, but was never huge into YouTube, and we hit it off. And I think our second date, we were up by Bonner's trying to call in wolves.
Okay, hold on, man. You're throwing a lot at me here, and I gotta chime in on something.
Go for it.
So you grew up in Post Falls, right?
Yep.
Are you familiar with the bar called? I think back then it was either Kelly's or Big Al's Country Club. It's
yes, sir.
Like a state line, right?
You may have seen me on one of the pool tables there a time or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason why I'm telling you this is back in the day, I had a country band, and it was a pretty popular country band back then. Like we'd get all the big crowds and whatever. And we'd go play. It went from Kelly's to Big Al's, right? My wife was a bartender at Big Al's, and we met there. And so I want to refute your "you can't meet a good girl at the bar" statement.
Okay.
But in my defense, she was working there. So, and I was working there too. I was a musician.
Well, the kind of girls I was seeing and fraternizing with at the bar at Big Al's, I mean, I don't have a lot of memory of Big Al's, but I mean, I was slapped off the frame, right? And I was fully partaking of life, coming back to Alaska and just being in college. But yeah, that's funny. I think it's actually a different name now. I don't even know.
It is now. Now it's called. It was actually bought by a dude I used to know. I can't even remember his name. But anyway, it's called Nashville North now.
Yep.
And they've made it all kind of prettified. It's not the country bar it used to be with the Idaho's biggest dance floor and all that kind of stuff. But it's totally different. So that's
bunch
just
of preppies there now, huh?
Probably a bunch of tennis playing preppies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, anyways, I'm not trying to bounce around. I'm trying to give a timeline, but I meet this girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting on a bush wheel, one of the big Tundra tires of a Super Cub. She's holding a grayling, wearing, I think, Tom Schneider's Carhartt pants with paint on them. And I'm just like, man, this bitch looks pretty cool. She got like a fish. Like, this is my kind of deal. Kind of cute. And so we meet her, hit it off. And then like I walk into their trophy room. If you've been in the trophy room of Stuck in the Rut, it's just like, whoa, there is like a bunch of big elk and a bunch of huge whitetails and Alaska stuff and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, I've never seen anything like this, dude. And so that, like, eventually fast forward, I marry this girl and everything. I kind of marry into the Stuck in the Rut family. And I just really kind of like put a fire inside me to like, hey, get off the booze. You're not doing anything with your life. I mean, you're a pilot and you're graduating college and stuff, but you could be a lot more successful if you weren't an alcoholic. And then I started killing a whole lot more.
Yeah. So now, at that point, are you still living in Idaho?
I'm living in Idaho. Tana just got out of school for air traffic control because she went to Alaska for school, and they were going to send her to like Oklahoma to work for like a FAA center. And like, she was good, really good. You make tons of great money, but you would have to like sit in a dark room with a bunch of video gamers. And I said, hey, I'm going to go work on this remote river, Alaska Rainbow Lodge on the Kvichak. Do you want to go fly around to Haviland Beavers all summer? And party with me, and it was an easy sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we worked that summer. I think we got married, dated really pretty short term, and got married. And then the next summer we were up there, and then it was just like balls to the wall back into like summers, and then 4 or 5 months, and then blow all your money in hunting season, and then go to Williston and work at the oil field, and she would be a bartender, and then we just repeat that, right? But you're kind of living like a gypsy, and that's what we did for a while. And then I finally had enough hours flying built up through working at lodges and air taxis and stuff that the government job came up in King Salmon, where I live now, for the National Park Service. And there's very few full-time year-round flying gigs in Alaska. It's all seasonal pretty much.
Yeah.
And this is a federal job. I met all the requirements, but I'm a white male who's straight. And I'm just like, oh man. And I'm not a veteran, right? So I have all the chips stacked against me.
Sure.
And if I was like a black lesbian, from an oppressed village or country or something like that, it'd be a shoo-in. You get points for that, right? And military, which I'm totally 100% for them, given military certs and everything. But like, if there's 10 military guys, I don't even get on the application.
Oh,
and I can have the most qualified resume, but that's what they explained to me once I actually got the job. Anyways, I got in, I crushed the interview and stuff like that. And I had flown a ton around King Salmon for Katmai National Park. And then I had that job, which gave us the push to move to Alaska, live in King Salmon, which we were familiar with a little bit, but it's in the middle of nowhere. And then that was when we finally decided, okay, it's time to buy an airplane, because it doesn't make sense to live in Idaho and have an airplane and fly all summer. You're not going to fly it enough. It won't pencil out. But living up here, it's like living in North Idaho and not having a truck. You need one.
Yeah.
So we got one, and that's where we're at.
So how long have you been there in Alaska now?
So every summer I've worked in Alaska since 2007. When I was junior in high school, I started coming up here to work in the sport fishing industry, and then full time just over 6 years.
Gotcha.
We've lived here full time.
Gotcha. And so at what point did, like, when you met your wife and you guys, started dating and whatnot, was Stuck in the Rut already started, or was that something that like you were involved with? I've always been curious about this.
No, Travis started Stuck in the Rut in 2010, and I met Tana early, like February 2014. So they've been going. They had been doing some long range stuff. They had kind of been tied in with Gunworks a little bit, and just there was no one really doing the kind of stuff that Travis was seeing on Sportsman's Channel and TV and stuff. So he said, well, I'm going to film my own stuff. And everyone's like, oh, we want to go on TV. Well, it's a long process to get paid to be on TV and get slots and stuff. So they quickly bailed on that, but said, we'll build a platform on YouTube, and we'll just put our stuff on there and people can watch it. And it was already happening. They had killed stuff for many, many years. And I just saw the fruits of their labor, and I wanted to come into the family, but I wanted to like be able to hold my own and keep up with these guys and kill stuff and everything too. So, yeah, that's kind of how it all.
What I really like, I didn't lose you, did I?
Nope, I'm here.
Okay. What I really like about Stuck in the Rut, and I told Tom this, and I think I told you this before we hit record, but like the whole premise of Stuck in the Rut and the content that you guys put out, first of all, there's a lot of hunting content on YouTube, right? But there's something unique about the way you guys do it and the way you present it, and the way like you portray hunting from. It's like it's not just something you dabble in. Like, this is your guys' life, and I love people like this that our lives. We are connected to nature in ways that most people spend their entire life never even comprehending a tenth of what you guys do. And the way you live now. Tell people a little bit about, because before I get there, tell people a little bit about how you live in Alaska. Like, the place you live and how you guys kind of make a living.
So we live in a pretty remote place. Alaska only has like 3 roads, and that's not a joke. Some of them are really long roads that span the whole state, and it's the biggest state, obviously. But where we live, if you hold your right, and all your listeners are going to do this, it's funny, hold your right hand all the way out and extend your fingers like you're holding up the number 5 for your little kid. And that's the shape of Alaska, your right hand. Now your thumb, where your thumb meets your main part of your palm there, that's right where we live, on the Alaska Peninsula. So we're southwest of Anchorage, 300 miles. There's no roads. Alaska Airlines flies in here at least once a day, sometimes twice a day. We have a big runway. It's an old Air Force base, or we get stuff barged up. So we are rural. It's bush, and there's like 400 people that live in King Salmon. Just down the road, there's a town called Naknek right on the ocean, and it's like the world's biggest commercial salmon fishery. So in the summer, like right now, it's getting real busy. There's people all over. There's hitchhikers, cannery workers. I mean, it blows up to a huge facility, for the next 2 months in the summer. And there's challenges with living in Alaska. The winters suck. It's cold, dark, miserable. You need to go to Cabo or Hawaii or somewhere to get your vitamin D, to not be up just utterly depressed all winter. Shipping's really hard. You can't get stuff shipped up here, Amazon Prime. It takes forever to get here when it does, and it's ridiculously expensive to live here. But the advantage to that is not being around a lot of people, and I'm allergic to assholes, and so there's not very many people up here. So the odds are better that you're not going to run into those. I
had this feeling, Adam, that we were going to be buddies, like we were going to hit it off, and you and I are, we're on the same page with that, and that's kind of where I live, where I do, but I'm not as remote as you are, man. I could drive 30 minutes down the road, and I'm in Sandpoint, Idaho, and they have like Walmart and shit, so it's super interesting, and what, like hunting wise, tell me a little bit about, give us like a bird's eye view of what you pursue hunting wise and why you pursue it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I'll just start like right now, like it's spring bear season. We can kill 1 up to 2 bears in some units, different things. The Alaska Peninsula is like a trophy unit, so that's only open on certain seasons, and it's not this year. But they're the biggest bears in the world there. I've killed 2 buck bears there in the last 6 years.
When you say they're the biggest bears, like how big are we talking, man?
I'd say weight-wise in the spring, they could go close to 1,000. They obviously gain a lot of weight in the fall because they're eating all that salmon that comes into the fishery, and all the streams and creeks and everything.
You're talking brown bears, right? Not black bears?
Yeah, brown bears.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of stretching that goes on. Guys really pull on hides to get them to 9-10 feet or whatever. I've never shot a 10-foot bear, but I go by the skulls, and I've shot 1 bear that grossed right at 28 1/8, and then 1 bear that was like 28 13/16. So we're talking a skull that's 17 inches long and 11 inches wide minimum, and then goes up from there. Like that is giant, and you can take a black bear skull off a 250-pound black bear. You can put a black bear skull in the jaws of these brown bear skulls, and it's like his mouth's not even all the way open to fit it in there. It's just, they don't even look real. And so that's a badass hunt, dude. That's scary. Like this thing will almost kill you. It almost killed my wife and Trevor a couple of years ago. It was a big story on that. And so we'll kill brown bears in the spring. I'm fortunate enough to not have to bait black bears anymore because I've done a ton of that in North Idaho, and it is freaking tons and tons of work.
Yes,
I've almost gotten in many fist fights with freaking liberals. Oh, that's just cheating, this and that, or even hunters who like hunt cornfields for geese, and they think that's fair. But baiting black bears, nocturnal black bears, to try and kill them is cheating, and that's unrealistic.
Man. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I had this dude that lives over in Washington and baits whitetail.
There's your problem right there. Yep.
Yeah, and he baits whitetail, and he's not a liberal. But if he was a liberal, I'd be a lot more harsh about this. But he baits whitetail, but then he's like giving me shit about baiting black bear, and I'm like, dude, I don't think you understand the concept. Do you know how much freaking work it is to bait a bear? And I order from, I don't know where she is in relation to you, but I order a lot of that Batum 907 from up in Alaska.
Oh yeah, from Jeff. Yep.
Yeah, from Jess.
Great stuff.
Yeah, it's great stuff, man. And by the way,
does
guys,
the post office think you're shipping in weed? 'Cause
dude,
it smells like weed.
They call. So last year when Jess sent me my package, the post office called me, and they never call me, but they called me up right here in town in Clark Fork, and they're like, dude, we need you to come get this box. I don't know what's in it, but we can't breathe in here. And so I go driving down there, and I'm not kidding you, man. I smelled the stuff from the parking lot, and it's just a little teeny post office, but I could smell it in the parking lot, and they're like, oh my God, thank God you're here. You got to get this package out of here. and, and so I get it and take it back. But, side
and
note.
You're smiling the whole time. You're like, this is going to bring me in some bears.
Oh, it does. Oh, absolutely. It did.
Yep.
It did. And I loved it. It allows you to be picky, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work packing that stuff in there. You got to keep up on it. And, anyways, that's one of those things you and I were talking about before we started recording. Like, when we're talking about like hunters and these influencers out there that like Batum 907 gives me a promo code, right? And I can give it out to people. My promo code is like Huntsman or Huntsman 10. I can't remember what it is for Batum 907. But I don't. That is a favor to my listeners. I like. Jess doesn't pay me for that, right? She doesn't like send me a check. It is just more of a. I'm a fan of it. I'm a believer. I've used other stuff and I know it works. And if people want to use it, great. It's no sweat off my back. But I want to talk about that. Because you talked about how you'd made this post about, people using these promo codes. They're like whoring themselves out to sell whatever they want just because they think they're some big hunting influencer. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me just spool everyone up because I tell people I'm like the Slim Shady. I have the balls to say it, like in his song, I forgot what the real Slim Shady or whatever. He's like, I'm the person with your friends sitting around the dinner table talking about it. And I will say it. I have like 1 foot in the industry, 1 foot out. And I'm not tied to anyone. I'm not bought by anyone. I don't have to be politically correct. Here's how codes work. Companies reach out to me. I don't seek companies that say, hey, we want you to try our product. And I said, send me one. Cool. If they don't want to send me one, get lost, pal. Because I'm not going to just say, like you said, I'm not going to whore myself out to say, oh, X is awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try it.
Too,
okay,
man.
you sent one. Cool. I like it. If I don't like it, I say, hey, I'm not going to blast you on social media. I say, hey, I think it needs this, this, this. If I like it, I'm like, okay, cool. Let's set up a phone call. Let's work something out. And I say, what do you want from me? Because this is a mutually beneficial relationship. And they say, we want you to push our product and we want to give you a discount code. That helps your followers, your buddies, whoever, use code RUT. That's like Stuck in the Rut's biggest one, right? And we try and just keep it similar.
Yeah.
And code RUT's going to save you 10%. And so if we're going to sell a $100 product, they're going to only pay $90, and then we're going to give you 10%, and you're going to make $10 or $9 off that. So that's really how it works. Maybe in your case, she doesn't pay you. She gives you some free bear bait product, or maybe it's just a friend deal. They're all a little different. But it's not like people are getting rich off codes. We don't hardly make anything with all these codes. It's more
man.
like hey,
I'm not quitting my job over my promo codes. That's for sure.
Jim, I'm going to make it real simple for everyone. There's no money in the hunting industry.
Yep.
Stuck in the Rut doesn't make money. We don't get rich off YouTube. We all have different jobs. Tan and I are both entrepreneurs. Travis is in the construction. Tom's into brush grinding and stumps and everything. Like, there's not money in the hunting industry. And people think you're just getting rich from all these codes. I'm like, no, it's more of a benefit to everyone else. If I go buy some bear baiting stuff, I'm just going to use Huntsman 10 or whatever, just because I want to save $10. That's it.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like we're. I think that's a good thing to clarify for a lot of listeners. Like I have a day job, man. I drive the entirety of the Pacific Northwest because I'm a commercial roofing estimator. Right, so I go look at these big high school jobs and hospitals and all this stuff, and I do takeoffs and these huge estimates for these roof replacements or new construction or whatever. I sit and stare at blueprints, that kind of thing. And so it's not like I'm getting rich off of doing that. It really is more just a beneficial thing. Jess sends me some free product. I've bought a lot of product from Jess. But my biggest thing is for me personally, Adam, I make pretty good money at my day job. I don't need money from Batum 907, but it helps with the listeners save 10%, and it helps Jess sell more product. Hey, you know what? Jess started this company. It's like the American story, like the epitome of the American story, and I think it's a great product. She does a great job. She does what she promises, so I'm good with it. You know, other than that, I think there's a lot of shady bullshit that goes on out there, and I'm not afraid to talk about it.
My biggest thing is you'll see, and I can't. That's why I told you I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I feel like an asshole because I'm not even subscribed to this one. I am now, so
you better be.
Sorry.
You better be.
Yeah, yeah. If I'm going to be on it, I better be subscribing. And you listen to a podcast, and it's literally the first 12 minutes are ads. But then I go back to a year ago; they're all different ads. So was it Crispies or Kennetrix? Was that the best boot? Was it Havalon or Benchmade? Was that the best knife? Was it this supplement or this supplement? Which game bags are the best? Because you told me these are the best, and now these guys offer 12% instead of 10% kickback on an affiliate link. Like, what is the best? And so for us, we really, really are shy. That's why we don't make any money. And everyone's, you got stuck in the rut. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be getting all this money. We're not sellouts. We're never going to be sellouts. You know, we don't sign contracts. We do handshake deals. We work with really, really top tier companies. Hey, use our stuff. We want you to use it because we know it works, and we want you to show the people that watch you that it works, you know? And so those are the kind of deals we want to do.
It's so interesting too, because like I was telling you, man, like Stuck in the Rut, you guys are some of the most prolifically successful hunters that I personally know. You know, I personally know you guys. I know you. I know Tom. You know what's interesting? Like in North Idaho and Bonner County here, they're having like the Idaho Fish and Game comment period where they do the live in person kind of thing where you show up and you talk to the biologist or whatever. You know what? The few people that actually showed up. Keep in mind, this is a unit or this is a region that has roughly 20,000 hunters in it. Who was there? Me, Tom Schneider, Justin Webb was there, and like a few other people that I didn't really know. But out of 20,000 people, they had ordered like 100 pizzas, and like 10 of the boxes had been open. It was a disappointment because people have such big freaking opinions on social media about what the Fish and Game should be doing, but nobody's showing up to these meetings to talk about it. And that drives me freaking batty. Like, don't bitch about things. It's like the same thing when people are like bitching about, oh, you know, Joe Biden sucks. You know, okay, well, did you show up and vote? Did you go vote? Nope, you didn't. Okay, so why are you talking about how bad Joe Biden sucks if you didn't show up and vote? You know what I mean?
If you didn't vote, you're a coward. But that's plain and simple. But
yeah, seriously.
The problem is, it's kind of what my dad said. There's a big difference between talking and doing. Everyone wants to open their cocksucker on Instagram, right, and bitch about this and this and this and this, hide behind a screen. But when it comes time to like pay up, get off work early, go to this, miss your kid's soccer game, and actually sit down and give your public comments. We have the same thing in Alaska where you can write a proposal and present it to the board of game, and I've done that. It's very rare they get passed, you know, because there's a lot of things that have to fall into place, and there's a lot of lobbying and different things like that from the commercial interest on the hunting side.
Sure. But
you have to at least, you don't have a bitch if you haven't tried. You know, you can't bitch about some board of some organization they're not doing good if you're not willing to step up and sit on the board of trapping or, you know, foundational wildlife management or something like that. You know, put your money where your mouth is. That's what I tell people, but people just want to sit there and squawk. It's easy.
It was funny. The first time you and I met, man, was at an F4WM banquet. And you were sitting with, I was hanging out with Steve Johnson. And I'm pretty sure my buddy Jacob Denham was there, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm pretty sure Jacob was there. And anyways, I was sitting next to you, and I'm like, I know this dude from somewhere, but I don't know where. I know him from somewhere. And then it like finally hit me when Steve told me who you were. And it's that kind of stuff. You live in Alaska, but you're sitting there in an Idaho F4WM Foundation for Wildlife Management banquet, and we're shooting the shit and hit it off. And I just thought it was cool. It just kind of it kind of expresses or highlights the people that want to choose to be involved in getting off their ass and doing something for the future of hunting and for conservation and controlling wolves, versus those people that are just like talk a lot of shit on social media and don't do anything about it.
I think it's a direct correlation, man, of the guys that are there going to banquets, supporting those organizations, doing the volunteer work, going to archery shoots. Those are the guys in the top 5% that are killers. Everyone else just likes to sit and bitch. Oh, they must be poaching, or they must be doing this, or they must be spotlighting. Those guys like to sit and bitch once again, running their mouth because they can't kill anything kind of deal,
Well, it's all, like the fish and game agencies, and I don't care what state it is, they're always like this easy target for people. They're like, well, I didn't get an elk this year because of the, Idaho Fish and Game or the Montana Parks and Rec or whatever they're called over there, Colorado, Alaska. It doesn't matter what this, name your state agency. That's always an easy target.
Yep.
It's the fishing. They don't manage them right. Okay, how many meetings have you been to? How many comment periods have you actually done? How many banquets have you attended? How much time have you actually put into this outside of you bought a new rifle, you went out, you didn't see shit because you can't really get where the elk are or the deer are or whatever, and
you never left more than a quarter mile from the road. Yeah,
you ride around on your ATV and bugle into a drainage from the dirt road. And there's no elk that are bugling back because they know where the dirt roads are, so they're not that fucking dumb. And then you bitch about the fish and game agencies not doing their job. I don't know.
No, and then you see Tom Schneider packing a bull off the mountain solo. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah,
it's like, son of a bitch, right?
He's a great. What cracks me up with Tom, man, he can find some mule deer here in North Idaho. Those are hard, man. I put in the effort. I cannot find mule deer like he can. Like he finds some.
I won't put in the effort.
I'm
sorry, I won't do it. Tom will go 14 days in a row, and his version of success is I saw one buck today. He'll be 3 days like, oh, only saw a buck track. I think it was a good one. I'm just like, dude. Seriously, you're going to hike your balls off all day up and down nut deep snow to see one buck, and that's considered your winning? I'm sorry. But he'll go 24 days, and then he kills a cranker, and it's like, okay.
Yeah,
well,
it works.
Tom Snyder gets another giant mule deer. We'll go figure.
No kidding, man. He does, man. He does. He gets a cranker. And it's like, what I like about it, man.
Yeah.
He'll take that applicable stuff that he knows, and he'll go to Colorado and do the same damn thing. Like he's just,
on opening day.
Yeah, yep. Like he's just solid, man. I love it. And so I want to talk about this flying thing for a minute, man. I have.
That's one of my very few skills, so I can talk for a while about that.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like this mythical thing to a lot of people, and I'm included in this, where, I really, and this doesn't even have anything to do with hunting. I wanted to get my my pilot license to fly single engine planes around Idaho, Utah, and Colorado, or I'm sorry, not Colorado, Idaho, Utah, and Wyoming, because I had this job. This was years ago. This was like a decade ago, where I was like this territory manager for a roofing manufacturer, and I had to cover all this ground to inspect all these roofs and do this crazy, thing. And I thought, if I could fly a single engine plane to all these different locations, it would really cut down on my time. And what I would do is I would drive to all these different places like remote Wyoming, and I'd take my fly rod and I'd catch a bunch of fish, or I'd get a tag and go hunting or whatever while I was over there. But it was a lot, like year round. And so I thought about getting my pilot's license. Yep. Well, then my wife, she's like terrified of single engine planes because there was like 2 bad things that happened during this time frame that was all over the news with these little planes or whatever. So she's just like terrified as all get out. Still to this day, I can't talk her into letting me take flight lessons. Anyways, the point being, that never materialized. I moved back to North Idaho, and I look at somebody like you who gets in these little planes. You fly all over Alaska, and like, it's risky as fuck. Like, some of that stuff is risky, right? Talk to me a little bit about that lifestyle.
You can leave your fat ass eating a bag of Cheetos on the couch and choke and die. So if I go out, I'm going out with a freaking bang, dude. You know, that's what I tell people. Flying in Alaska is extremely dangerous if you don't have, I guess, the right attitude, a set of guidelines, everything like that. Here's a really good example. Like, my 6-year-old knows this. People die every year because they don't know this. They know they don't follow it. And I say, honey, where do the mountains hide? And she goes, in the clouds, Daddy. So if we fly into the clouds because we're coming back from a sheep hunt, you need to get home for a wedding or to inspect a roof or whatever, and we have what's called get there-itis, and we need to get back to Fairbanks, Anchorage, whatever, and we just can't quite see through the pass what I've been through 100 times. We'll just scoot through it on the GPS. That's how you die. And it's pretty easy to hit a mountain when you're just flying through the clouds, and all of a sudden, boom, there it is. If you can see, it's pretty hard to fly right into the side of a mountain. So that's what kills people. It's the pilot error that kills people. It's it's like 1.2% is mechanical or something that actually happened. It's weather and pilot error, and the weather is also pilot error because you pushed it when you should go. So that's the scary part.
Totally. That's exactly what happened. Like, when I was getting serious, I got all the brochures. I had talked to this flight instructor, and like, I had taken this job that I was telling you about, where I covered Utah, Wyoming, and Idaho. I had taken this job. It was in Salt Lake City. So we moved back down to Utah, and I took this job. So I'm looking at all these flight schools out of Heber, Utah. And what happened was these like teenagers got drunk as fuck, and they went and got in a plane in St. George, Utah, down, southern Utah. They get in the plane and they take off, but it crashes like at the end of the runway or whatever, and kills all 4 of them.
Well, I don't say.
Right? And so but at the time, it's all over in the news. 4 pilots killed, blah, 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 in a single engine plane. So my wife's just shitting her britches about me, taking flight lessons. So it goes to exactly what you said, man. And like, it's got to be pilot error, because these things are these planes are pretty solid, right?
Yeah, I've bent them, I've wrecked them, all kinds of stuff. I'm never flying more than 500 feet above the ground. Usually it's about 200 feet above the ground, because that's where all the animals to see stuff,
Yeah.
I just spent $35,000 just in parts on a motor. I had a motor go out. Luckily, it didn't just grenade on me, but it was showing signs of wear and had some scary stuff. So I did an emergency landing and flew home. And then we pulled the cylinder off and had a crack inside the case right off the crank. And so that, like, the engine's dead. My buddy's like, okay, I'm going to kill the engine. You're done. Send it in to me. He's going to rebuild it. I have an all-star of a buddy who's just a freakishly, amazingly good with motors. And he built me a hot rod motor, turned it super fast. But these parts are held to standards. Each cylinder has 2 spark plugs. There's a lot of redundant features, 2 magnetos. Very well thought out, and it's not very common at all for an airplane just to be going in cruise and then boom, just quits. There's usually signs of wear if you know what doesn't really have much of anyway.
I can't. You cut out there for a minute. There's signs of wear, and then you cut out there.
Yeah, like Lycoming, the engine manufacturer, they tell you like abnormal oil consumption or a change in oil consumption is going to usually give you an indication that something's happening in your motor. Like, your cam lobes are getting worn, or there's corrosion on a lifter or something like that. Something isn't right, And so I don't keep a check anything anymore, but I have notes in my iPhone of how much oil I put in at what time frame, how many hours I fly till the next quart when it gets down a quart and I need to add it. And so I can keep track of all that stuff just to hopefully mitigate some of that. So it's not like the airplane is just going to grenade on you in the middle of the sky. Mine should have. My buddy, he's like, I don't know how you made this thing home. Like, it should have not ran. but it did. And I flew home nice and high, 3,000 feet that time, because I didn't know if it was going to just quit running. But you're in the middle of nowhere, and it's February, and it's going to get down to -6 that night. And I'm like, well, this looks like a pretty shitty situation. I'm just going to fly home and hope she works, right?
So if you're flying at like 3,000 feet, is the goal with that, the engine's giving you a little bit of a hard time. If you're that high, you can kind of glide it into a spot? You have more time?
Yeah. Yeah, you can lose the complete power of the engine, push the stick down, and basically use the airplane's weight to put air over the wings and fly down to a frozen lake or frozen meadow. And so by me flying at 3,000 feet, I could cross any patch of trees and glide to an open, snowy area. And I might wreck it somehow, rip the gear off or anything, but at least I'm not going to flip it in the trees and catch on fire and burn to death. I can just have a little fender bender and I'm walking away. So that's the goal,
Who was that guy? You remember the show Mountain Men?
A little bit, yep.
There was a guy up there, Marty. That's his name, Marty.
Yep.
He had that little yellow plane. So I had him on the show a couple years ago. And he's a big time, Alaskan trapper or whatever. Is that similar to like the plane you're using?
I think he had a Cub, Super Cub. I mean, it's tiny. Like, pilot sits in front, the passenger sits right behind him, and that's it. You got a little room for a duffel bag behind you, and then, mine has a belly pod, which is just cargo for underneath the belly of the airplane, and everything else is getting strapped to the outside because we are out of room.
So, like, how much weight can you strap to this plane and fly safely?
Like to the outside?
Mm-hmm. Both inside and outside.
I can do 2 wolves a side, which is, average like 75, 80 pounds or whatever.
Sure.
Put a bunch of stuff in the belly pod. I mean, they all have max limits of what the airplane is certified to hold and has been tested to hold and everything like that. And mine's up to like 2,300, and the empty weight's 1,250, so it can carry over 1,000 pounds. That's me, gear, gas, and everything. You just need a lot more real estate, and it flies a lot different. It's like pulling a loaded 20,000 pound trailer with your truck versus an empty trailer. It's like everything happens slower, and you need more power and more time to react to certain situations. But I mean, it'll do it. You need a lot of room. Cubs are hard because they're so small. They bulk out. So, you can take a moose out in 2 trips, and then the last trip you get your buddy in the moose rack and the backpacks, and then you fly out. So it takes 3 trips to get a moose out.
You like what? Strap your buddy to the wing or something and fly him out, or?
No, they don't. It gets cold out there. You strap the moose rack to the wing and fly it out or whatever. But I mean, it's the iconic hunting plane of Alaska because they don't do anything well. They're not fast. They're not super fuel efficient, but they can fly low and they can fly slow and get into short spots, places that no one would ever consider suitable to take an airplane, which is where I really like to thrive and think I really set myself apart, is taking airplanes, my Super Cub specifically, where it's not meant to go. And, I'm still breaking tubes in the tail and getting welded and gussets and everything. I just had it welded like a week ago because I found a new tube snap back there. But I've been on hunts with buddies and they say, I killed a moose over there. I'm like, where'd you land? I'm like, just that little strip right there. I'm like, what strip? I don't see an airstrip. I'm like, well, just that little patch of tundra. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? And so, but I was going to say, that's like someone practicing with their bow every day to 100 yards so they can shoot 50. I fly pretty much every day, and it's all a skill set to take me to hunting grounds where other people can't access. So there's not a lake, there's not an airstrip, and I've perfected a craft where I know I can get in there and I can kill an animal. I can also get out of there, and it's an untouched region or something like that. So that's just a tool in my tool bag that I'll use to help set myself apart.
So where you live, do you just like park your plane right there at home or something? Like, this is intriguing stuff, man.
No, King Salmon has a 10,000 foot asphalt runway, but the big tires we use, each tire costs $2,000. So it's like, it makes Toyota seem cheap. And it's a really soft rubber compound. You only run 4 pounds of air in them. So they'll flex over uneven ground, big rocks, different things, holes, logs, but they're really susceptible to wear on pavement. So you don't want to land on pavement. I have it at a private strip that pretty much my adopted dad owns, and he lives out here, a buddy of mine, and then I bought a lot from him, And then I spent every dollar I had and borrowed a bunch of money and built a hangar house out there. So we're not finished. It's just dried in, but I have a 50 by 50 hangar. So it's like a full wide span shop and then a house attached to that and a big 44-foot door, which is huge. Every guy wants a shop, and it's amazing to have, to pull a skid steer in there or pick up to work on it. I have a hoist because I have like double truss 12 feet back from the door to lift the airplane or lift the engine off the airplane. I mean, it's really cool. But the fact to keep your airplane inside there in the winter and not have to worry about it getting snowed on or icy or anything like that, I mean, it's a game changer. It's awesome.
It's like this lifestyle that is so foreign to a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like you have this access. You're a pilot. You've got the plane. You can get into the areas, like you said, that other hunters can't access, and that's interesting. It's intriguing.
But that takes a lot of nuts.
It does. It takes dude. That's what I'm getting at. I think it takes a lot of nuts, and I think it takes a different breed that is willing to kind of have that higher. What do they call that when you're like an investor and you have a higher risk aversion or whatever? You're willing to risk more versus risking less. Like I think that's the same thing. When
high risk tolerance.
Yeah, high risk tolerance. That's a good way to put it. That would be
me. But I don't think about the negative. I mean, for me, before I go on a moose hunt, I have it written down where I want to go, where I've flown over, where I've seen. I don't care about the bulls. Like, I can see the bulls up in the hills. I want to know where the cows are, because just like elk hunt, it doesn't matter where you're going to find a bull September 1st. He ain't going to be there September 15th when you go in there. You want to find where the cows are, where those bulls are going to come in. And so I've done all my preseason scouting. I've landed all the places I can potentially go. I know where I'm going to keep my camp, where I'm going to keep the airplane, and where I can glass from. And then I'm going to know 5 other areas around that I can land. So if the rule of moose is you only want to pack them a mile. So most guys are staying a mile from the airstrip. I'll walk 5 miles away, kill a moose, and then I'll just go land over there, because I know there's a spot I can land that I've pre-scouted, and I envision the whole hunt in my head close to how I see it going. And then when I'm setting up on final to land, exactly where I'm going to touch down, exactly where I'll be stopped by, and exactly how I'll also get out of there, because that's also a ticket too. You can land places that are too small for you to take off again. And so I play this movie in my head, and if it doesn't go exactly how I planned, I get very upset because I'm my own worst critic. But 99.9% of the time, it ends up working just like that, and people think I just get lucky. I'm like, no, I work every day for this. Like, this is what I do, is flying airplanes and killing stuff. And I'm good at both those. I'm damn good. And they work really well together in Alaska. Don't have many other skills, but those two things work really well together. And I'm obsessed with both of them. And so I really like doing them, and I do them every day.
Somebody like you, man, I have so much respect for. It's such a taken, like the lifestyle that I live here in North Idaho. You like take it to the next level. You know what I mean? And because it's Alaska, man. I mean, come on, it's Alaska, and
it's pretty big, man.
Talk about that. Talk about the difference between, like, you grew up in North Idaho, you hunted elk, you hunted wolves, you hunted, deer here in North Idaho or whatever. What's the difference between, like, some dude like me just kind of making his way through North Idaho versus hunting in Alaska?
Oh man, there's a lot. For one, you guys have things called roads. So when I hunt the lower 48, or outside as we call it in Alaska, and go hunt outside, hunted 3 states outside last year. It's fascinating to me. You guys have a truck, so we can go out and we can get wet. I don't need tons of rain. I don't need rain pants. If I get soaked, we're just going to come back to the truck, start the heater, and I'll warm up. If we can get wet in Alaska, you can get wet, you can die pretty easy, Mm-hmm. It'll snow in August in the Brooks and go to full on winter and cover the airplane with a foot of snow. That kind of stuff is just normal. If you're hunting North Idaho, walk downhill, you'll hit water, and eventually you're going to find a road. You don't find roads up here. They're never going to find your body if you start walking away from your airplane because something isn't right. Bears really aren't an issue. If you have an issue with bear, just kill it, is my theory. It's more of the weather. The weather can just be horrendous, and you can be stuck in a tent for 4 days, and the pilot might not be able to come get you, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of logistical problems. The hunting, I tell people, isn't hard. Like actually seeing an animal, making a stock, and killing it, not nearly as hard as a big smart mule deer or a herd bull with cows or something like that. But it's the logistics and the weather is just makes Alaska really, really difficult. And yeah, like for me, right? Everyone thinks it must be nice. Oh, it must be nice to have a freaking super cub. I'm like, yeah, it is, but I can't go and hunt for 2 weeks, right? I'm watching the weather. I know where I'm going to be. I know where I want to moose hunt, where I've seen moose in the past, where I've hunted moose, where the cows are, where the bulls should be. And I'm going in for 3 days, right? And I can't hunt till the next day because you can't fly and hunt the same day. But I need to fly into a spot that's suitable to land with all my stuff, pack my water in, because usually I'm not down in the creeks and stuff because you can't really land down there by all the trees.
Sure.
And I want to find a place that I can tie my airplane up into to some kind of brush or stake it down so it's not going to blow off the side of the mountain, put a bear fence around it, set up a tent, do everything, and then hopefully that 2 to 3 day stretch of weather is going to hold and I can make it happen.
What the fuck? You got to put a bear fence around the plane? Why?
Well, I mean, it's $100,000 investment, but that's your only ride home. And the places I'm going, my buddies aren't coming in there, and they've told me that. So, like, that sounds cocky, but it's just the truth, right? And so they're not going to take an airplane in there. So I'm either punching the helicopter button, or they're going to airdrop me parts. And when you start mixing helicopters and hunting in Alaska, it's really convoluted. You can't do that unless it's like a search and rescue mission, and we're picking you up, and you can't even bring your rifle out for an extraction. So
wow,
I don't want to cross that bridge, and I don't care so much about the bear. If bears, like a buddy of mine, his outfitter up here, he said at one time, he's like, he'll have clients and stuff. Oh, there's a bear outside the tent. He's like, okay, cool, go back to sleep. That's where they're supposed to be. If they're inside the tent, wake me up and I'll handle it. That's my theory. But the airplane, when we leave for the day or we leave for a 4 to 5 day stretch of good weather on a sheep hunt, I can't babysit that airplane. I got to tie down good and everything like that. If a bear wants to come play with it, any bear will be able to get through the bear fence. I just want to maybe deter a young, curious one. He licks his nose and puts it on there and, lights up Dr. Watts and hopefully runs the other way. Yeah, if they want in, they're getting in. So I keep my food in the dry bag, close to the edge of the fence. So if they want it, they're just going to swat it and take the food, and we'll figure that problem out. But I don't want the airplane or the tires destroyed or the side ripped open or a wing bent or something like that, because then we got some real problems.
This is nuts. Okay, so I'm curious about something you said earlier, like way earlier.
Let's hear it.
Wolves, man. You guys have a different dynamic when it comes to wolves versus like Idaho wolves versus Montana and Wyoming wolves. We've got this issue of they're talking about releasing wolves into Colorado, and the Colorado disastrous wolf management plan that has come out recently or whatever. Can you give us like a culturally? I'm talking culturally. Like, in Idaho, you drive around North Idaho. I don't care if you're in Bonners Ferry or if you're in Sandpoint or Coeur d'Alene or whatever. You drive around, you see people, they have these like smoke a pack a day or shoot, shovel, shut up. There's this culture around wolves. People hate wolves here in North Idaho.
It's funny? My parents are the ones that you see at like the sportsman show in Spokane. They're the ones that sell those decals. I grew up in that business.
Yeah.
They're the ones that sell those stickers. Yeah.
So I'm curious to like talk about the contrast between that cultural side of it. Cause I'm with them. I understand that mindset. I understand the frustration we have with wolves. And I understand, I want wolves managed at a very, effective level, if that makes sense. And I think Tom, does your brother-in-law, I think he does a great job. I think my buddy Jacob,
he's the best in the state.
Yeah, I think he is.
As far as calling him in, he's got the record.
Exactly. He calls him in. He's one of the most effective Idaho wolf hunters that I know of. And then you have trappers. You have Justin Webb. You have these other guys that are really good at trapping wolves. But anyway, that
guys that don't want to be mentioned, but they are killers. Yeah.
Exactly.
We know there's probably some of the same.
And Justin, he doesn't want any of the glory, but he deserves the glory, if that makes sense. But I'm curious
I just
about.
think Justin, he'll say it. He's not the best trapper, but I see Justin there at every single meeting, sticking his hand into a wolf trap, holding it up, telling people like he is the guy on the front lines, and that takes a special kind of person to take that kind of heat. It also takes a special kind of person to check wolf traps every 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
But Justin's doing the part of many people. As a director of that foundation.
He puts the work in, he puts the effort in, he puts the passion where it belongs. He's not afraid to go up against these anti-wolf hunting, anti-wolf trapping organizations or folks that want to give him a hard time. Yeah, he does a great job. I'm a huge supporter of Justin Webb and the F4WM. I'm curious about.
I'm a member and I live in Alaska.
Yeah, I know, man. I know that's cool. It's such a cool thing. But I'm super curious about like the contrast between the mentality of wolves versus like Alaska's always had wolves. There was never a period where Alaska went without wolves, and then they reintroduced them, and now we got to deal with the wolves, the repercussions, and all that kind of stuff. Like, what's the difference between that? Because you've lived in both places, so you have this unique perspective between Idaho wolves versus Alaska wolves, and kind of what the, I don't know, mentality, the cultural thing. What's the biggest difference in your mind?
So coming from Idaho, there's a deep hatred for wolves, right? Because we had phenomenal elk hunting. It was good. You couldn't glass much, but there was big bulls. There was a lot of elk. You get multiple responses in every drainage. Now you can walk for 9 ridges and not hear a bugle, and the elk that are there don't even want a bugle. So it's hunters, guys wanting to feed their families, guys that just love elk hunting, deer hunting, mountain lions, and they kill everything. I have a deep-rooted hatred for wolves because of that. On the flip side, they're one of the animals I respect the most. They're one of the smartest animals that have like 7 different senses. I've had them stick their face right in the snare and like ready to go through it, back up, take a piss on it, and it's just so frustrating, right? Coming to Alaska, they're kind of seen as like lower 48 people see the coyotes. The coyotes have just been around. Coyotes kill fawns, right? It happens. We shoot coyotes when we see them. We pull over. We trap coyotes. Guys used to poison coyotes. That seems more the mentality. The difference of Alaska is the ungulates, the moose, and the caribou that those wolves are killing. And 2 wolves, I fly a lot of time on skis in the winter tracking wolves to see where the kills are so I can set snares on them and trap them and looking for wolverine sign for trapping. 2 wolves will kill any moose. They'll take a 70-inch moose down, no problem. 3, 4, up to a pack of 8 that we trapped this year, that's just playing. I mean, you get one on each hamstring, a couple on the nose, and the other are just there to watch and have fun and learn how to kill a moose, right? So 2 wolves can kill anything. 1 single bit, caribou, no problem. They'll just rip their guts right out as they're running, and they'll eat half of it in one sitting. The wolves here and the people of Alaska, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm just my presumption or assumption everyone has, they're kind of like coyotes, but it's different because that's our food. And where we live, I can't just go buy beef. Everyone goes, "Oh, you wear Kuya and a rich super cut pilot. You don't need to hunt." I'm like, well, actually I do, because we eat about 3,000 to 4,000 pounds of meat a year, and I can't just go to the store and buy it. It's not available, and if it is, ground beef's like $25 a pound. I can't feed my kids 4 pounds of that every night and expect to not go broke.
Holy
and so
crap, man! Did you say $25 a pound for ground beef?
It could be. It's crazy here if they even have it. I mean, it's just like it's not.
That's because they have to like import it, kind of thing.
It's flown in, yeah. I mean, it's trucked to Anchorage and then it's flown in here, and but then put yourself somewhere even more remote where they barely even have a post office, right? Mm-hmm. You're getting rice and flour and stuff, and then like you live a subsistence lifestyle of fish. Some people still run a fish wheel up here. We have a subsistence net, but the wolves we're talking about are competing with the ungulates, the moose and the caribou, and our caribou populations are pretty bad right now, and that's due to a lot. I talk a lot, like we were talking about how involved you are. I talk to multiple biologists throughout the year and stuff, and the consensus is moose calves are hammered by brown bears. The first 30 days, brown bears, those big old boars, they go where the cows calve, usually out on an island, and they'll swim out into the island and they'll sniff down the moose calf and they'll take it and have a bear and have a snack and then go to the next one and just go one after another after another. Wolves are hammering the caribou calves, and the caribou calf mortality is 90% within the first 6 months.
Wow.
And
90%?
Yeah, and the majority of that's coming from wolf predation, So if adult wolf can take down a full-grown caribou, bull, cow, and bite them in the guts and then rip the paunch out. What's a caribou calf? They're super cute little babies. They're just about dropping on the ground right now. What can a young pup do? That's how they learn to kill. They just go out and they grab these snacks, and the caribou can't defend the baby. They can't run. They're brand new, and they're stuck wide out in the open. Caribou live like antelope, where they can see for a long time. Well, I mean, it's a slaughter fest, you know?
Yeah.
See that as direct competition of food and many units. You don't need a tag, and you can shoot 10 a day all year. No, I think they have to close it for like 2 months to leave the wolf huggers happy, you know, because they would get all spooled up if you could kill them during breeding season and stuff like that. But, like denning season, you know.
Idaho didn't give a shit about the wolf huggers. It's like 12 months, man.
Yeah, they just changed, which is great.
Yeah, it is good. It's a good thing because I don't think, you know, like these wolf huggers. I like that term. I'm gonna totally plagiarize that term that you just.
Stuck in the Rut has a sweatshirt, and it's me carrying a wolf over my shoulder. It says wolf hugger. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. I love hugging wolves.
No, that's great, man. I think that's. I don't know. It speaks to the different mentalities of different regions that have different reactions to wolves and what they are. And so it's interesting to hear somebody talk about how, you know, wolves up here, they're more like coyotes. You know, they're like this nuisance thing. But 90% calf kill rate on caribou is crazy, man. Like, that's crazy.
That's straight from the biologists, what they tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I believe you. I believe you. So, do you have any, for our Colorado listeners, do you have any advice for Coloradans that are about to experience the so-called reintroduction of wolves in the state of Colorado?
Well, for one, I did my whole college thesis paper on this. It's not a reintroduction. We're talking about a introduction, because re means again. These are a non-native subspecies of wolves. They pulled the Idaho ones from like the McKenzie River Valley and stuff like that. I don't know all the specifics, but that's all the research. I did like 25 pages on this.
Adam, does that mean like the wolves that were in Idaho were timber wolves, and these are Rocky Mountain gray wolves or something?
Yeah, totally different. We're talking different. Like a big coyote for a timber wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a gray wolf, I mean, like a big bitch is like 80 pounds.
Canadian gray wolf. I mispronounced that.
Yeah, but I mean, like people get misconstrued too. Like a big bitch is like 80 pounds, and then, you know, a big male is 100. Our biggest wolf we ever weighed is 126 pounds. I think it was full stomach, full of caribou and stuff. So the whole 150, 200-pound wolf thing is a bunch of shit. But the people in Colorado, like you guys are just straight apt. You're straight apt. I mean, look at Idaho. Idaho is a perfect example of taking an opportunity state for ungulates. Not a trophy state, but there's some good bulls. Not anymore. You know, you can't just say, oh, Idaho, there's going to be a 400-incher every 5 years coming out of Idaho. You don't have that, because those elk calves getting killed in 7 years would be a cranker bull, but not anymore. Colorado's, it's bound to happen. And that's because the Democrats in Denver and everything like that carry the majority of the vote. And I think it's voted in, like it's going to happen. So unless they bring strychnine and poison the wolves that they put in there, which would be like a federal crime, there's no way you're going to save it. And there's already wolves kind of filtering in from, you know, here and there. But once they put them in,
they're coming from Wyoming.
Yeah, but once they put them in, the deer and the elk, I mean, even the animals, they've grown up with these giant saber-toothed tigers that can float on top of the snow and run them down and hunt in packs and have amazing eyesight. They hunt a lot by eyesight, you know, when they walk on top of these creeks and banks and look down for moose and caribou and stuff like that. And they're extremely effective killers. I mean, they are, like I said, if they see something, it's not an if. They will kill it. Now, we've trapped wolves that have their skulls crushed in, and they're still alive because they take a moose hoof to the face. But once those deer and elk see that, it's going to be like the worst movie nightmare you could imagine, with like humans having like these giant spiders all around. That's what those wolves are, and they run in packs. It's not a singular. So it's not like a mountain lion and a mule deer have this thing where they got to watch out. Now there's like 8 mountain lions.
Yeah.
But they howl and they hunt together and they know how, and they love to kill for fun. And so,
and the other, you know, the dynamic with that, the other little added layer that is going to be fun for Colorado is the elk in Colorado have no idea to be fearful of the wolves. They don't know what they are, right? This is a new thing. It's like, okay, it's a canine kind of thing, like a coyote. We need to be, cognizant of its presence. We need to know it's there, blah, blah, blah. But coyotes don't actively hunt elk, right? That's not a thing. And so the wolf does. And so when they relate that to, okay, it's just like this big-ass coyote, and this is what happened in Idaho, is...
Oh, they'll kill everything, dude. It's not just that.
It's like fucking scorched earth. And so these elk, they don't understand that they need to be very aware of this wolf. They don't know it. They haven't had to run. They haven't had to relocate. They haven't had to do anything because of these wolves. So they're coming into Idaho, they're coming into Colorado, and now all of a sudden these elk that don't know shit about wolves and how the predation works with that dynamic between wolf and elk, a lot of there's going to be a major number that is affected by the wolf within the first 2 years. Like that, it's going to be this big thing. It's going to take the elk a long time to figure out, okay, these wolves, they really fuck us up. We got to go, right?
Elk have to rethink how they are wired. They are wired to breed and bugle and mate.
Yep.
For that short amount of time in September, that magical 10-day period, and there's probably only like 3 to 4 days of penetration that actually goes down. Now they can't do that. And they're going to get decimated until the younger ones start seeing it happen and the herd bulls get taken down. Okay, we can't bugle. Bugle, Joe died. Bugle, Frank died. So we can't do that now. I have to go downwind and look for cows silently, and that's going to take some time. That's what Idaho had to do. And unfortunately, it's going to dive. It's going to dive really far down until they finally open trapping and hunting seasons. And then they might, in 10 to 15 years, get a handle on it a little bit, just like Idaho. And we'll start to see some ungulates come back. But in the roadless areas like the Lochsaw, the Selway of Idaho, you're done. I mean, it's a ghost town.
I got an interesting question for you. I want to throw like a scenario at you, man. You cool with that?
Let's hear it.
Okay, I got to think of the scenario though. Okay. You live in Alaska, so let's say you fly to Mexico to get some. You'd mentioned earlier that you like to go to Mexico to get some vitamin D in the winter. Not a lot of sun in Alaska.
Love tacos.
And tacos.
Yep.
Tacos, right? Tacos and vitamin D is the goal. So you fly to, I don't know, Mazatlan, and you're hanging out on the beach. You know how they put those lounge chairs in those resort areas, like right next to each other, like everybody's right up in your shit, right? That's why I don't like going to them. But everybody's up in your shit. So you're sitting there, and you're like, okay, I want some tacos, and I'm hanging out on the beach, and some like major animal rights activist sits down, and they're like, wolf above everything, and they start telling you about how great it is that we're going to reintroduce these wolves into Colorado. And there's going to be such peace and harmony in the world because of these wolves living on the Colorado landscape. And, how evil it would be to have hunters and trappers go out and remove these wolves from the pillar that they set themselves on. Are you tracking?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm compiling my thoughts.
And you're sitting there and you're listening to this individual talk about this, and you ask them, where do you live? Give me a synopsis of what you do. Oh, I live in Denver, Colorado, and my days are filled with bicycle rides through the urban park and drinking Starbucks and,
And my IT job, yep.
At my IT job. And I have a high-rise apartment where I go out and we bitch about Donald Trump on a nightly basis, right? And bitch about hunters, trappers, anglers, people that are just killing things, and how wrong they are. What do you say to that?
Sounds like a person I'd love to spend moose camp with that person. I get a one-way ride. Man, I would first say, okay, I'd want to know. And as I've gotten older, I've tried to mature more. I try to see things more diplomatically, and I want to see it from their senses. Okay, why do you think not the reintroduction, but why should we introduce these wolves here? Well, they're here, and I say, okay, well, they weren't here before. This is a non-native subspecies that they are bringing in here, and like a modern saber-tooth tiger that's nearly double the size of what we had previously a long time ago. And why do you want that here? Okay, because you want the trees to have bark on them in Yellowstone. That was their argument, or stuff like that, or we can have more wildflowers and things like that. And then I would also counter and just say, okay, how much time do you spend? Right? Oh, I hike. I'm like, okay, do you ever get off the trails? Well, no, I don't get off. I go the paved trail up to here. And I say, okay, well, that's not really out in the wilderness. I go and spend my vacation from work and thousands of dollars every year to go live like a homeless person, to be surrounded by wildlife, because I am truly intrinsically enthralled with it and the biology and the mating cycle. And I'm a trophy hunter, plain and simple. And I want to shoot the biggest, most mature animal that region holds. And I want to count myself, and I want to match wits and play chess with that animal. And the wolves kill that animal for fun and eat the ass out of it, and the eyeballs, maybe a little bit of the tongue, and then they'll walk away. And that's the difference of Alaska. Wolves here, they'll eat something, they'll kill a moose, they'll, like 8 wolves, they'll eat that thing in 4 days. They'll stay within a couple miles, and they'll eat it, and they'll eat it, and they'll eat it, and then they'll go kill another one. They might save a little and cache it, but the birds are going to hammer it too, so they can only cache so much, and the birds and wolverines are going to come and dig up those caches and stuff. So they eat the animals. They don't really kill for sport up here, but they still take a ton. And so I'd ask and see what they had to say about that. But I spend more time than an actual state-paid biologist in the mountains living with these animals, because I really like them, and I really enjoy and care about them, and I'm going to take one per year, maybe per year. You know, I might not, because I not see I might not do good enough. I might not see one. I might miss, but I genuinely care. And what is your reason why you want these here? Because I'll give you all the reasons I don't.
Adam, what is your take? I always like to ask this question from people that have been, within the lifestyle of hunting and living off the land and living close to the land, and people that really see nature for what it is. And what I mean by that is I think that the person that I described earlier, they live in downtown Denver or Los Angeles or whatever, and they're against hunting, they're against wildlife management through hunting and trapping, and they have this kind of like it's almost like this theological belief that humans are an infringement on nature, as if we've been implanted here by fucking aliens. Like we don't belong on the earth, and we're interfering with the earth because we live our lives on the earth. It's this weird concept that we are not natural to the world. I
God
guess
didn't put mammals and ungulates on the world, in this world, Jim, for us not to have dominion. It says in the Bible that we have dominion over the animals and the beasts of the forest and the flocks of the air. I think I'm not great at
no. You're right. It does say that we have dominion over the animal and whatnot. Taking
you
that,
can't grow big and strong eating frickin' soybeans and tofu as a vegan, okay? And your soy frickin' lattes, and more animals die for your soy and your plants and everything, get ground up under a disc and everything like that. All the mice and rodents and pesticides and everything gets sprayed. And the counter to that is the moose I shot last year. I shot a cranker, the biggest bull I ever had. He was like 231. And I passed up 15 Boone and Crockett bulls before I finally pulled the trigger. I didn't kill a moose the year before because I didn't see one that made me say, wow, that's a giant, right? And that is being a selective trophy hunter. I don't want it to end day one. If a giant walks right by the airplane, sure, I'll stick him with an arrow or I'll put a bullet through him. But if not, I want to hunt a worthy quarry, and I want to find the most mature animal that's, a bull elk peaks at like 7, 8, 9. I want to find a 12-year-old, a really old one that's outsmarted everyone else and all the predators to do that. And when I put a bullet through that moose last year, he had just got his ass whooped he was 66, and he just got his ass whooped by a 71-inch bull that came that night, and he had a cow, and I think he had his ass whooped for the cow, and he was sitting there kind of posturing up, but kind of being a puss next to this other moose. And the other one was wider, but I've already killed a bull at 73. I want this one because I have a shed He's super wide paddles and everything. And I'm like, there's no way you're going to pull me off this thing unless there's an 80-incher. And I put the bullet, I held for 2 minutes of wind, 380 yards, and I just put it right behind the shoulder. 285 ELDM, and it went all the way through him. He spun around 180 degrees, tipped over backwards like a horse. He was dead within 6 seconds. That's the fastest, that's the fastest, most humane way any animal is going to die.
Oh, totally.
Moose, mouse, a rodent eating pesticide off your freaking tofu, or getting your hamstrings ripped out while 2 young wolves hang on your nose saying, oh, this is fun, and the other ones are ripping your guts and your nutsack. So that seems like a lot better way to die for me. That's how I'd want to go, rather than going slow from winter kill, a brown bear, or worse, a pack of wolves. So
what? And not to
me.
Not. Oh, I totally agree with that. I think you nailed it. And I don't mean to like totally switch subjects here, but what do you see as the biggest threat to the future of hunting from a guy that grew up hunting? Your entire lifestyle is like immersed in the outdoors, and living off the land and raising your kids in this way that is considered primal or historic or ancient, like not relevant kind of thing anymore. Because you and I believe, I follow you. Obviously, I follow you on Instagram, which I get a huge kick out of your like super sarcastic ass fucking reels that you put out there. I love those, man. I love them. It's super freaking entertaining for a guy like me. And
down my wife's dump truck, Laney Wilson, but yep.
And it's so much fun. That's the kind of stuff that just hits me the right way. And so anyway, like from a guy that's totally immersed in this lifestyle and the outdoors and living off the land and homesteading and everything that you do, what do you see as the future the biggest threat to the future of hunting, going forward? Like, what does 10 years from now look like?
Okay, well, 3 parts. First, I am more connected. I'm a foster parent. We couldn't have kids naturally, spent way too much money trying everything, couldn't have a baby in a test tube, never worked. So we got into foster care. I adopted 5 native kids from Western Alaska. And so they have a cultural tie to the region where their ancestors killed seals, walrus, whales, caribou, fish, moose, and everything. They are culturally tied to the resource. Now, they didn't grow up doing that. They grew up and they showed me with tinfoil you can make a crack pipe, and they didn't know that was used for making cookies. But anyways, we were immersing them in that because that's what their ancestors did. We want to culturally partake in that and show them our way of life too. But I just wanted to preface that because I am very, very deep rooted into that, and I'm more native than most natives, even as a freaking white guy. Like I live it, dude. I don't just talk about it.
Yeah. I would second that.
The first part I would say is, I don't mean to get too political, and I hate that we're so divided and pulled sides, but the people that are on the left and the Democrats, they literally, some of those dumbass people think your meat is literally made at the store. There was like a posting or something on Facebook we all saw a long time. Why don't you just get your meat at the store? It's made like everybody else. And they don't understand that those cows don't want to live in a freaking cattle dairy farm. The chickens don't want to live in a chicken house with 100,000 other Tyson chicken birds and stuff like that. But it's not okay for you to eat elk meat. It's not okay for you to eat moose, which is one of the most lean proteins, and it's good for you. They don't want you to do that.
Yeah.
They don't want you to have guns and the ability to fend for yourself, to kill your own food, and to do everything.
Adam, there's one thing I want to chime in with that, because I don't know that there is any way that I could agree with you any more than what you said. I want to highlight one thing. When we say Democrat, the Democrat Party has been hijacked by these leftist extremists that want to call us extremists for living the way that humans have lived for thousands of years. And so this isn't like Democrat versus Republican. This is normal fucking people living their life that notice the Democrat Party has been hijacked by these leftist extremists that talk about how healthy they are, eating a fucking tofu vegan diet, that are dying. Their skin is gray. They can't even see straight because they're so malnutritioned. And we have to sit there and act like we're okay with that. And I got a little bit, I got a little overly worked up.
A little hot.
Little hot, man.
Yeah.
Little hot. But I want to, like, here's the thing, dude. Like, in my family growing up, we had Republicans, we had Democrats, and they had their, like, little different ideas as to how the country should be managed. And it was
Same
like
thing.
this fun rivalry and whatever. I found myself on more of that Republican right-leaning side. I'm a constitutional conservative kind of type guy. And I see that what happened is these normal Democrats have been fucking hijacked by these people that can't even decide what gender they are. They can't decide whether or not humans should eat meat, even though that's what has been going on for thousands of years. They're this woke societal norm that they're trying to create where everybody is wrong except for them because they're offended. That kind of stuff drives me absolutely batty. And I think that the Democrats, if I was a Democrat, I would be fucking livid. I would be fucking livid at this point that my party, the party of JFK, who would have no prayer of getting elected today because he would be considered too right-wing, has been absolutely hijacked by people that want to run around indoctrinating our children and sexualizing our children and acting like having men in women's sports is totally fine. I would be pissed if I was a Democrat. I didn't mean to get hot. But sometimes I think about this stuff and I fucking explode. I'm over it. I'm over catering to the feelings of these leftist nut jobs that think that this stuff is okay. And we've got to stop it.
To a head that the actual Democrats, the Democrats that I grew up knowing that there's Republicans and Democrats, and Republicans are all about big business, no taxes. Democrats are a little more hippie and they want, national parks and stuff like that. That's what my dad explained to me, and that's how it used to be. Eventually, they're starting to flip script. They can't be around the wokeness and everything like that. So that and the antis and everything like that, the biggest thing we would need to fix it is Trump or Trump Jr. to win, because Trump Jr. is an awesome guy and freaking huge hunter and conservationist and everything like that, rather than just freaking Democrats. They shut everything down, make everything federal lands, and this is federal law. No one can hunt. But the second part of that that's probably more realistic is hunting, to me and to you and the people I associate myself with, think of it as a heritage, a pastime, a tradition. My dad took me when I was 3, and I was bloodthirsty, until I got to high school and started chasing the other kind of whitetail. Like, I was just bound on killing anything with a pulse, right? Coyotes, rabbits, grouse, whatever. Yep. When you gave me a pickup and I had to work on a gun, dude, possibilities are endless, right? In Idaho, there used to be a lot of opportunity for small game coyotes. I mean, go down to Worley and road hunt for coyotes all the time, right? That's not the case anymore. Dude, now,
Worley's still a great place to hunt coyotes, though.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of coyotes. They're smart.
Yes, they are.
But hunting now has turned into a business, in a multi-billion-dollar business of guns and camo and influencers. And I think of it as like the Makita girl, right? When we all grew up and went to a shop with your dad or whatever, and there was a hot girl in a bikini holding a freaking grinder, in a hard hat. I was like, that girl probably isn't using a grinder, with her big fake tits hanging out. Just saying, that would get a lot of sparks over those, but she looks really good, right?
Yep.
Well, that's happened now, and no offense to anyone who wears Sitka, but most of the people you see, those broads with their fake tits and their fake hair and their fake eyelashes and their fake lip injections, sitting in the tree stand, doing their TikTok reels, wearing all the Sitka. That's the problem.
They're like decked out in makeup and everything. You have any idea how the deer smell the makeup? Just so you know, like that shit is not scent free.
Well,
I call funny bullshit.
They never kill anything.
Yeah,
because you roll through their page and it's real TikTok dance, real. Ooh, snap your fingers and go from dressing like a slut to dressing like a camo slut with your big fake slop hands hanging out. And no offense, and I'm sure there's some people that wear other camos and different like that. But Sitka is doing that for the Makita girl thing. So it's sending the wrong image, and it's promoting hunting in the wrong way. And it also comes from the guys.
Yeah, totally, because they support that. But you notice the chicks out there that are actually killers and putting shit on the ground, they're not decked out in Sitka and makeup. And I don't mean to pick on Sitka.
It's pronounced Shitka. So you just for everyone listening.
Yeah. I'm not here to shit all over that, but it is this thing where that's what they chose to be like this marketing approach to sell product. But yet, my girls, my daughters, you think they're decked out and what do they call that, mascara, eyeliner, and all this stuff, and they're going out there and killing stuff? No, man, my girls, they go out and they kill shit in what they as natural females, and I'm not.
And probably the clothes they wore to school.
Exactly. Yep. I'm not disparaging makeup wearing because my girls also wear makeup, but that's the thing is my girls are deep souls. They can have this dichotomy of getting dressed up and wearing makeup, and they can also have this other side to them that goes out in what is just natural and into the natural world and get shit done, right? And that's the difference. And sexualizing hunting to sell product is kind of bullshit. I don't know.
Well, no, not kind of bullshit. It is. You look at all these girls and you look at their followers. Most of them have a freaking OnlyFans showing their feet pictures to some old creepy guys because that's what sells, right? Yeah. These old creepy guys who are turkey hunters in Missouri and 450 pounds or whatever and never left the truck. That appeals. Oh, this girl's a hunter, so they're appealing to that kind of weirdo. But the other opposite side of this, man, I'm getting freaking heated. Besides the shit wearing sluts, is the other, and there's lame people who wear Kuyu. Liver King wore Kuyu. The Bomars wore Kuyu. Plenty of people wear Kuyu, and they can buy it. So when I did some stories on my Instagram, they'd be like, "Well, what do you think about Liver King?" I'm like, Kuyu does not sponsor Liver King. They don't sponsor and give stuff to the Bomars. People can actually buy product, and there's even people who aren't very smart. Liver King, right?
What?
Steroid.
Dude, what is Liver King?
They're people. Oh, we can get into that, dude. It's a freaking dude who just wore Kuyu, and he said he never did steroids. Obviously, he's on juice, and then it all came out, and the whole thing unraveled. People can buy Kuyu, right? Just so they don't look like a loser who wears Shitka.
Yeah.
But the other big part of this, most hunters are men, and there is this new generation from people who want to be a content creator, want to be a YouTuber, want to do all this stuff. And I have a YouTube channel. I do it because I don't make money. I do it just because I like filming my hunts. I want my kids to watch it and stuff. When I kill an animal, I video and it's raw emotion, and I'll send you the kill shot after we're done for my moose. I can't really post it yet. I've thought about it or whatever.
That,
we've never really done that. And once that thing hits the dirt, I just freak out, dude. It is real. It is raw. I did it solo. It's the third moose I've shot solo. The last thing going through my mind is how many likes can I get on this? How is Kuyu going to like this? How is Gunworks going to like this? I wonder if Swaro is going to send me a new ATX 95 because I use a Swaro to phone scope this. I wonder if Hornady can give me a sponsor because I shot at ELD. I don't care. None of that crosses my mind ever.
Yeah.
I am enthralled at the moment. I don't care about how many likes, how many reels, how many whatever. I'm just like shaking. I'm just like, dude. This is the drug. I can't get enough. It's literally, I'm like a heroin addict, and I'm like, how do I keep this going? How do I get that next fix? And that's what hunting should be. And everyone hunts for a different reason. But if we're doing it to sell it, to sexualize it, to do it for reels and monetization and making staged places where you walk across the freeway packing a bull out and frickin' you're flat brimming your soy boy camp, I don't know. Don't get me started, dude. There's a lot of people, in my opinion,
I think a lot of people
for the wrong reason.
I think a lot of people are A, going to agree with what you're saying, and B, understand that, like, if we're talking shit about one particular thing, like Sitka gear, it's not the gear. I have friends that wear Sitka. I have friends that wear Kuyu. I have friends that wear, name your brand. I like to use the Scree gear. I like to use.
I have friends that wear Sitka that put big animals on the ground. They still know
exactly.
The company sponsors faggots.
Yeah, and there's just this persona about what the marketing behind some of the hunting shit is that, like, people are starting to wake up and they don't buy it. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that like you're on a
Your eyes have been
private,
open.
you're on a,
Eat a
you're,
girl.
like what? Come on, you're on a high fence fucking bullshit hunt. Like give me a break. And I am one of the people that has talked about don't disparage people that go on high fence hunters or hunts because we're all hunters in the end of the day. And I agree with that. But the problem that we get with that is these people that'll go on these high fence hunts will present it on social media as if they're some backcountry badass. And that's the difference. Like I'm
like the having a 10K guy in Idaho that shot like a 430 bull or something
man.
and said it was Wyoming and he shot it on an elk ranch. Yeah,
exactly.
It's like a bodybuilding show. Don't tell me you're not on juice. I can tell you're on juice.
Like just be honest about what you're doing and present it in an ethical and honorable way. Like there's no honor. There's no honor in lying. There's no honor in misleading anybody. And so when you're going out there and you're acting like you're some fucking highfalutin hunter that went out on a high fence ranch, you paid $30,000 and you shot this 400 class bull elk and some dude on a side-by-side drove up, fucking skinned that thing out, quartered it out for you, got the rack out, and you took a picture right as the sun was going down with this elk rack on your shoulders that you walked through 30 feet to put on the side-by-side to haul out by the guide. I'm sorry, dude. Like, you're not a badass. You should have been fucking honest about it. It's not. I have way more respect for somebody that shot a 220 bull 4 miles into the Idaho National Forest somewhere, or Montana, or Wyoming, name your state, whatever, and people disparage that individual for shooting, what they call a raghorn, but the guy went out there and they located that elk, they closed the distance on that elk, they made the whole thing happen on their own, and they pulled that thing off. They pulled this hunt off, and now they have, 200 pounds of meat in the freezer. I don't care.
I respect that. I just want the truth. I'm
exactly.
not dropping truth. Names, but there is people who like to shoot Columbia blacktails and throw the animal over their back and walk down a logging road. The Columbia blacktail weighs 120 pounds. My wife can pack a 130-pound moose quarter. She weighs 150 and go straight uphill a mile and not stop. And I'm just like, hey, I need a break. I need to fall over. That's beast mode. And guess what? No makeup. Because when you got sweat rolling down your cleavage and off your face because you're busting your ass, I don't think makeup stays on your pretty little face. Those are the kind of real deal people I want to associate with. And if you're on a hunting show and you see a big buck off the side of the road and you bail out the truck and you cross the fence and you sneak down there and you shoot him, tell me that story because we've all done that.
We've all done it, man. I love it. Yeah. It's
My biggest mule deer was right off the truck. I shot him down by Boise, and we were driving out. My dad shot a 155 buck. So I shot the biggest mule deer out of both of us. I said, yeah, it's pretty cool. Come around the corner, there's a 175 buck with 2 does. I jump out, jump off the road. I'm laying down, looking at him. He's like 90 yards away, and he takes off. I'm like, oh, that's a bad move. I wasn't done looking at
man.
I shoot him through the front shoulder, and that's the story. And everyone's got a story like that, and I did it in Crocs and blue jeans.
Yeah, the biggest mule deer buck I've ever killed. Like since you brought that up. I had it was actually in Washington when this was that rare time when I'd first got out of the Marines and I'd moved to Washington to work for my buddy Adam, who had a construction company, and that was going to help kind of pay my way through college kind of thing, I got a Washington deer tag. I drove up this mountain. I walked 30 fucking yards from my truck, and this big old mule deer was standing there, and I killed him. That's my story of my biggest mule deer buck. It took me less than an hour to gut him out and get him back in the truck, and I got him in the truck whole. Like this was all downhill. This buck ended up in my truck whole.
Back your tailgate right up to the edge of the bank with snow. And
you bet I did.
You
bet I did.
Go to breakfast at the cafe.
Yeah, I literally, if it couldn't have been any better, with the exception of if I backed my truck up to this hillside, dropped my tailgate, shot the buck, and he just rolled down and gutted himself and landed right in my truck. Like that. That's how easy it was. And I understand that doesn't happen all the time, but that is the honest truth of my biggest mule deer buck was 30 yards from where I parked my truck. And he just stood there. He was running up. He didn't give a shit. He just was like, what are you? And I stood there. And
You're not a doe.
You're not a doe. What are you doing? and I drug him back to my truck after that. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I don't care
I think
about
that's what-
inflating. Like, this was before social media, too. Like, I didn't care about inflating the story to make myself look more glorious as a hunter on social media.
And I think that's why people like Stuck in the Rut. Like, we tell it like it is. Like Tom this year, he's like, I shot a small bull. He was like a 5x5, barely a 6-point. He was standing in the road. And he was close to pick up. I couldn't help myself. Put it all on video and told the story. He's like, look, it was right here. And I called Travis, and we were done by like noon. You know?
Oh, yeah, man.
And people get that. It's kind of like, oh, we're way back in here. We're going to hide the road, and we're going to reenact the footage up here. And we don't do that. And I think that's why people really feel genuine and connected to the story, because they know it's the real deal. You know?
For sure, man. For sure. It's so interesting you say that. Like, I've watched YouTube videos. I know they're recreating shit. Like, that's not how you called that bull in. That is not how that went down. Because
with the hoochie mama.
You know,
Yep.
I'm 40. I think I'm 42. Right? What year is it? Yeah, 42. So, like, it's this ain't my first rodeo. I know how shit goes down. And so I just think this over glorification of things kind of gets old. And I think that people are starting to pick up on it, and we, you know, like, nobody falls for this shit anymore. So yeah, I think that's true what you said. Like, I'm not a trophy hunter, man. I do not explain myself to anybody if I shoot a raghorn bull or if I shoot a spike. I don't care. I'm not a trophy hunter. I don't care. I shoot a legal bull. I shoot a legal.
You don't make excuses for it.
I don't make excuses.
No,
I don't. I'm not going to sit there and be like,
"Oh, just couldn't get it done," or this and that, or can't eat the horns. Like, no,
if
there's
I don't.
330 bull and a 230 bull, you're shooting the 330 bull.
Absolutely, hands down, man. It's like totally. That's what this whitetail buck I killed last year. There was 2 bucks that came out. There was a smaller one and a bigger one. I killed the bigger one. Right? Like, no shit.
Yeah.
But it's not like I seek. I'm not going for some Boone and Crockett record for me, and especially when it comes to elk, I'm not that good of an elk hunter. So, I'm sorry,
Elk
man.
are smart, dude.
Trust
me, I got a big wake
don't
up call
care.
hunting Montana this year. Yeah,
you got a what? What did you say?
I got a big wake up call hunting Montana this year, just getting busted by lead cows and everything. And I've been hunting dumb moose and caribou, but I'm a trophy hunter in certain species.
Tell me about that bull. Tell me about that big ass bull you got that got stolen, man. And then we'll wrap this up. I know we've been going long, man. You got that bull.
Probably the best podcast I've done. Yeah, so shot the biggest bull in my life. I'm a horrible bow hunter because Alaska does not have many archery only seasons, any weapons. So if you're going to give me a gunworks, it'll shoot to a Grenda or a bow that I can shoot to 60 or 70. I'm taking the rifle all day long. I just don't have the willpower to be only the bow. Now that I quit the full-time flying gig and everything, I'm more of an entrepreneur. I want to bow hunt more and have this new Hoyt, and I love it. It's just it's dialed to 80, and I'm really confident in it and stuff. Still hard to put down the gun. And if there's a gun within a mile, I'm going to pick it up. Anyways, drawing archery out back Montana, going with Travis, get on a small piece of public. We got private down below us, private above us or whatever. We're able to get in there, and the elk are coming down to get water through the ag fields, and we ambush them. And I was thinking about this the other day. The percentage of hunts that actually work in an ambush, let alone an elk, is probably like less than 1%. You know, a lot of called in, a lot of that stuff in Montana. Central Montana is open, and so it's like spot and stock, not a lot of calling. And I just had the elk pattern. They would go down this way. Travis had it blocked off, or they'd go down this way. And the more you're in there, it's just kind of like bear hunting up here. The more you're around the scent and everything like that, every time a cow sees you, they just get less and less tolerable of your presence. So it's getting darker and darker, and I had like 6 minutes left of the daylight. And this bull comes by, and I had screwed up on other ones by draw too early or draw too late or anything. But I have a reed in my mouth, have the camera on, all the 6 cows funnel right by. He bugles right over the hill. I can barely clip on the string. I'm shaking so bad, dude. And he goes behind the tree, and he goes behind the tree. I roll up to my knees, and I start drawing. I'm like, no, wait, one more second. His head's fully behind the pinyon juniper. Come to full draw, come out. I don't even know if I aimed. He was 32 yards. I just put my 30 on his heart. And cow called him before he even, he was almost to a complete stop. I just sunk one right through his heart. Luminoc all the way through, stuck in the dirt behind him. It was awesome. Got it out. really small. He was kind of like he was a herd bull, but he was like worn down from rutting and stuff. You know, and
like
shot
body
him for
wise.
October.
You mean body wise?
Yeah, he was like the size of a rag bull.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a 60-pound rear
I've
quarter. I
seen
could take
that,
the whole
yeah.
thing up and front raise it. And I told Travis on
you
video,
get into
like,
week
this is
1,
nice.
week 2 of September, or I'm sorry, October. That's kind of what they look
Yeah.
like, right?
Yeah, he's worn down, and it was really nice from packing out 4 moose this year, which are huge. You know, 110-pound fronts, 125, 130-pound rear quarters, bone in. We have to leave the bones in up here in some units to that, or we could debone them and just throw in a kuyu pack and be like, boom, sweet. And everything was great. I stayed with Trav to hunt. Tom took the elk and said, hey, I'm going to drive home. I said, sweet, take this. We have a lot of gear and not enough truck space. Stopped in Billings, and woke up the next day after like 5 hours of sleep. It was gone. Thought I'd never see it again. One of the only good things with social media.
Wait, back up just a minute. You stopped in Billings.
Tom had my elk. I stayed with Travis to hunt. He still had a tag. I had to get back. And I said, okay, well, take my elk. You're taking all this gear. We'll come back later, but we don't have enough gear in the pickup for this. He got my elk and drove home, and the rack and the cape got stolen out of the back of the truck. And hindsight's 2020. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, right off the come on in, right off the freeway." But
so Tom had it and spent the night.
He felt awful. He felt awful.
Dude, I feel bad. I feel terrible for Tom. like that's
but
horrible.
Everyone's like, "Oh, you always take those in the motel." I'm like, "How do you like?" These aren't old motels, right? Where you just back up to the door and you take your elk in. How do you get an elk to the 3rd floor when you walk through you park here and you walk down 100 yards, go up here, go to the elevator and stairs? I don't know. I'm just old school. I thought Billings was like cowboys that smoked marbles, not a bunch of tweakers and crack whores. But
yeah, no, there's tweakers everywhere, man.
A lot of tweakers in Billings. Yeah, it's just freaking running ragged. Yeah. They took that. They took a lot. They took a 9,000 cubic inch kuyu dry bag, the biggest one they have, and it had all my stuff besides my backpack and my sleeping bag, everything.
Shit.
I think I had my binos, but they got a spotter and just everything. And so I got an insurance claim that got covered. That never showed up. They stole Tom's bow and the elk rack, which is priceless. And that went viral over Facebook, social media. The next day,
I shared it.
Took it. Yeah, I appreciate that. The tweakers took it to a guy in Laurel just down the street. He thought it was kind of weird. They were in the corner. They wanted a sawzall, so they cut the horns off, gave them to this guy, and he said, this looks kind of weird. Why would you bring a cape frozen in and then cut these big bull antlers off this cape? Why would you do that instead of just skull capping in the field or whatever? And they were acting suspicious, made $300. Never was able to find that person. But I had the antlers back, got them back, and I think they're actually at Trav's house or maybe a taxidermist. I just got to get a cape because they cut them off. But super, I thought that was a 1% chance, but I got lucky and I had the antlers back. Yeah, just a cool story, but just makes you sick to your stomach. And then I had to come back to Alaska for a hunt, and I'm just like, man, those tweakers they're lucky because I would not want me looking for me wearing a set of steel toe boots. You know, they don't even have teeth to kick in, but I'd break something. You know,
they're gonna get.
I used to go to Big Al's. I've been in a couple tussles. You know,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One time. Well, no, I won't get into that Big Al stories. But anyway, I feel terrible for Tom because I'm sure he like had this, you know. He felt responsible or whatever, but you just like, it doesn't matter where you go, man. Like there's fucked up people everywhere. And they just
the way Travis explained it, said if Tom's house was burning down, he's a father. He'd grab his kids. The next thing he would grab on his way out would be his biggest elk rack. That's how special the racks are to him. So it's like, it meant more to Tom than it did to me, but I shot a 181 bighorn. And that elk is right up there with that. That's a Boone and Crockett bighorn, but that elk's right up there.
Man.
Just because I shot it with a bow, I got on video, I was solo, the thing read the script, he came by screaming, Travis across the way getting phone scope footage of him coming down. I mean, it was just so cool to have it all work out. I was the only one that filled a tag over there. And I'm like, I make reels about how sucky of a bow hunter I am. Like, I just got this new bow, and I was shooting arrows into the frozen ice, bouncing them in the target with my Hoyt. And I'm like, is that how you're supposed to do it, shooting grounders? It still hit the target, you know? And so, like, I make jokes about it, and I made a joke before I went on that hunt. Like, shooting at 50. And I was like, I'm not going to let 3 bad arrows get me down. And then I just smoked this bull, just pinwheeled him, like 10 ringed him. And it was just really cool to have it all come together. Crazy story. It went viral. I was on the news. I mean, it got like millions of shares.
It did, man. It was crazy because like I had seen, I don't know who posted it, but I'd seen the picture of you and that bull, and I'm like, dude, he did a great job. That's a great bull. Super jealous. Really good hunt. And then like a couple of days go by or something, and then all of a sudden everybody's posting, holy shit, somebody stole an Adams Group bull out of the back of the truck in Billings. And and
then Snyder got his bull stolen.
Snyder got his bull stolen. And it was like, so all of a sudden there's this big trend of these fucking meth heads stealing everybody's bulls. And that's kind of the persona that was told or whatever. And
I had a buddy write an article on it. Yep.
Yeah, crazy, man. I'm glad you got it back. You got the antlers back. Did Snyder get his back?
No, I did a podcast with him a couple months ago, and he never found him. So he's like, for all I know, my dogs could be chewing on my own elk right now, because that's what happens. All antler now, it just gets cut up into dog chews, and there's a market for them, right? That's why shed hunting and all these shed closers have become so relevant and all that. But
oh my god,
he's got stolen out of the backyard.
That you did on Instagram about shed hunting, dude.
Everyone thinks I should. That kind of made me blow up. I was like at 15,000 followers. Not that I know or care. People were like telling me, "Hey, you're blowing up," and I was gaining like 1,000 followers a day. And I'm like, I don't know why people want to follow me, dude. I'm just a fat guy married to a super hot redhead, and I can kill big moose and fly cabs. But I guess it worked. It was pretty funny. Everyone's like, you should do a sequel. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do a sequel.
Oh, my God. It was hilarious, man. I died when I saw that fucking
video. Well, it's because it was real, because that's what everyone did. And I'm talking to my buddies in Utah. I'm like, there's boot tracks all over May 1st. Those sheds to be found.
Yeah. No, man, I had a great time watching that. But tell everybody a little bit about where they could find you.
So Stuck N The Rut's on YouTube. Appreciate you subscribing, your support there. It's not a lot of B-roll or like boots through the creek or music overlays. It's down and dirty. It might be a 4-minute hunt. Like, hey, just came back from church and there's 2 turkeys in the parking lot or over by the house, by the garden, and I'm going to go shoot them with my bow. That kind of stuff. Or it may be a 35-minute brown bear hunt on the peninsula where it tries to eat us, and just a wide range, but it's usually a lot of really intense stuff. And I'd argue to say that we put some of the biggest animals on the ground with diversity, from Dall sheep, mountain goats. We do a lot of the stuff in Alaska and all the western states down there, and there's no fences and it's all public. So Stuck in the Rut on YouTube, and then I'm just Grenda89 on Instagram.
And listeners, you guys like heed my advice. One of the most entertaining Instagrams you could follow is Grenda89. Is it Grenda89 or 1989?
Grenda89. One other plug I will have to plug: all the wolves we were trapping and killing this year. I sell a lot of hides for wolverines and stuff like that. So if you need any fur, I guess hit me up next winter or whatever. I don't sell cheap fur. I sell stuff to mount. So I get a lot of guys, and you'll like this. Guys will like try and barter with me. And I'm like, look, pal, I'm not a garage sale. Okay. The Wolverine's 800, and 800 is the price. And keep asking, I'll add a couple of zeros. Like I mean, how many guys do you know with 3 or 4 Wolverines you can choose from right now that you're actively currently talking to, sending you videos? Oh wait, and it's crickets. So I'm not a garage sale. The price is the price, bud. And but we got a bunch of wolves. My buddy was down here, and him and his kid were down here, so we all hung one and skinned one. Well, he skinned his like very loosely and left a bunch of meat and cartilage on the ears and stuff instead of like really clean skinning it, so it's easy to flesh and put the hide up. We roll that one up into a garbage bag. 2 weeks later, I pull it out, hang it to pull the feet out and turn the lips, because I sell everything taxidermy prep. Well, I'm like fleshing this thing, and it's got like a big chunk down by the dick, and it's got his dick bone still in there. And I never even knew wolves had one like bears do. And I had never really given much thought to a baculum or the penis bone in a wolf. Pull this thing out, dude. I don't know if you saw this on my Instagram, I put it up for bid, and some sick bastard, a buddy of mine, actually lived in Fairbanks, bought it for $105. This dick bone went for $105. And so then I just made a reel, and I'm like, guys, I didn't know I had such a bunch of big perverts following me. I got my woodshed out back stacked full of frozen wolf bodies. you guys want a dick? I'll go back there and whack you off a dick right now. Just let me know. And so people started ordering dick bones from me, dude. Yeah, I mean, $100 is $100, dude, right? I mean, Avgas ain't cheap. So, yeah, people started messing like, hey.
No, man, I got a kick out of that video you posted about how, like, here's your secret move. And, like, if somebody's bucking up on you, you're going to come at them. You're going to get
dick
real close. And you pull the
you
dick
ain't walking
bone,
away from a dick
bone to the eye, man.
Yeah, I finished. I'm like, there's no way you're walking away from a 5 3/8 dick bone to the eye. I mean, seriously, it'll sever your spinal column. So there's a lot of good humor and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty much my new handle has become Dick Bone, and I had a beard company. I'll do a plug for that. Effect Beard Care. This is how I want people to do the sponsorships. The guy's like, hey, I like all the stuff. I think you have a great beard. I want to give you a code for Dick Bone. I said, okay, well, I don't do anything like this, wore yourself out. I said, like you said, for the camera, I want to try it. So he sent me a bunch of stuff. I said, hey man, I really like it. It's kind of natural ingredients. I like how it works and stuff. How does the code thing work? And, Effect Beard Care is cool. Just shameless plug, because I give a 10% discount. They give me a little kickback, which from beard care products would be like $50 a year. I don't make anything, but they also donate another 10% to a charity of my choice. So I can donate it to like a Wounded Warriors or a Kids with Cancer Foundation. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
But then other companies have now reached out, and I have 2 companies now, Backpack Logistics and Effect Beard Care, with code Dickbone. So it's kind of taken off, and it's kind of become my handle.
God, that's great, man. Code Dickbone.
People are going to call me on the radio and be like, yo, Dickbone, how's the weather up there? You seen anything bad? And I mean, it's not as cool as Maverick or Viper, but I mean, Dickbone's pretty neat.
No, it's up there, man. It's up there. Like, Iceman, step aside. Dickbone is en route.
I mean, I quit flying for the federal government because I went into the job not liking the federal government, and then working for them for 5 years and seeing how horribly inefficient the systems ran and how many hippies and stump humpers and bunny lovers you are surrounded by the National Park Service. I did not fit in, if you can imagine. He's like, what'd you do this weekend? I said, oh, this, my garden, and this and that. Like, what'd you do? Oh, I shot a 9.5-foot bear in the face. And they're like, oh, you shot cinnamon? I'm like, yeah, it was awesome. Got it on video. Want to see? And so now I really don't like the federal government. So I'm trying to make it as an entrepreneur, which I taught him, buddies with Cody Rich, you just had on, because I was rolling through your podcast before we talked, and Cody's inspiration and different stuff. Like, you just take a bunch of stuff and you don't need a business plan. You just make it work. So Dick Bones is part of my entrepreneurship. And so,
well, I mean, it's actually pretty legitimate, because you made it a thing. If you can't make it a thing, it's not going to be a thing. You made it a thing. And so,
I mean, there's
the
thousands
whole Dick
of
Bone.
people now, they hear the word Dick Bone, my ugly face shows up into their mind. Or in your case, a brutal ninja move getting the dick bone to the eyeball.
You don't want a dick bone to the eyeball, and that's the thing. And so no, that's cool, man. You hooked up with Cody. He's got that Rich Ideas Lab. Like, it's
I'm on it.
Yeah. I just started.
I did his course a long time ago. And
I just started it all. So cool stuff.
I had a lot of ideas and stuff, and none of my ideas that I took from the Rich Ideas Lab or anything like that have really come to fruition. But I mean, like, I manage Airbnbs, I sell hides, I pick up a few sheds, I manage other real estates. My wife pretty much runs multiple businesses and women's retreats up here and stuff, and takes girls out into the backcountry and lives like a homeless person. So I have to watch 5 kids, and then I have to drop the girls candy out of the airplane, hoping they'll flash me, but that still hasn't happened yet.
Give it to him.
Yeah.
Give it to him. Have faith.
I told my wife, I said, can you vouch these girls appropriately? And she's like, that is so rude. I was like, it's just a joke. But I mean, how cool is it to be in the middle of nowhere and get pizza boxes thrown out to the airplane, you know?
Right.
Just dangle the ice cream bucket like, ooh, who wants some ice cream, girls? Drop them out. But yeah, she does a lot. She's a phenomenal entrepreneur, and I'm just trying to keep up. But yeah, we both go hand in hand, and it's really cool that she wants to live this lifestyle I do. Like, down throughout my life, she's an all-star. The bad thing about her, I thought was really cool when I married her, is she likes to hunt. And so then that takes my time, because I got to, like, take her hunting and then watch the kids while she goes moose hunting. I'm like, well, this freaking sucks, dude. I want to be selfish and just do all the killing myself, but Dude, she puts some animals on the ground, and she's like the exact opposite of a huntress. She hates that word, and she hates all the girls in the industry that are shaking their ass and their OnlyFans and their Sitka, because that's the exact opposite of what she is. She hunts for the same reasons that you and I do.
Because she's a real hunter. She's not doing it for the glory of the gram. You know, she's
you grew up with Tom and Travis. That's all you know.
Yeah, man. I mean, like you, dude. I can say with great confidence, your wife is a way better hunter than I am. And I think
she does have an elk curse. She missed a lot of 6-point bulls, but her birthday is October 25th.
Well,
you know,
there you go.
What are you doing October 25th? You're packing a bull for Travis or Tom every single year. So you better like elk hunting.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I think it's super admirable. I really look up to you and your wife and your family and the way you guys live. I think it's a great thing, man. I think America as a whole could learn a lot from like you and your family and the way you guys live and the sacrifices you guys make to be, you know, as self-sufficient and entrepreneurial as you are. And I think that it's one of those things, like, you know, everybody wants to look at the next quarterback in the next Super Bowl. But the reality is it's people like Adam Grenda that actually set this stage and to set the example as to what this humanistic thing is, and this connection to nature is truly meaningful to the average human and the average human.
Up a little bit. Is our connection still good?
Yeah, man. It's probably the time of night, man. I apologize about that. Did I lose you? You there?
No, I still have you now. It sounds good. It was just breaking there for a little. I didn't want to have you go back in and edit a whole bunch.
Yeah, I don't edit shit, dude. I just record these as they are, and they it's just whatever. It comes out how it is.
Good.
So, well, all right, brother. I really do appreciate you. Stick on the line for just a minute, but I'm going to end the recording, and I'm going to let the listeners know they could find you. If you get in the show notes on the podcast here, you'll be able to find Adam on Instagram and a website and all that kind of stuff. We'll maybe put your YouTube in there, whatever you guys want. And Adam, you got anything else you want to let the crowd know before we sign off?
Man, I don't know. I was just going to say maybe something a little motivational. Is just, I think there's a lot of parts, and I talk to buddies of mine, and I want to hang out with people who are alphas and people who are better hunters than me. And I consider myself pretty good, but I want to surround myself with better people to become better.
I'll tell you what sucks about that is you're a way better hunter than me, so that means we're never going to hang out. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just trying to be selfish and trying to look out for me. Sorry, that's how it is. But I say that because I talk about not my friends about themselves, but like our circle of friends, like, hey, so-and-so, and like he gets after it. Well, he gets after it is a very broad statement of saying he puts the time in scouting. He will go till there's no quit. My buddy Justin Schaefer up here, one of my best hunting partners, he'll sleep in a sheep bed at 3 a.m. so he can wake up at 4 a.m. on the opener to put an arrow through one at 90, because he can shoot to 90 yards and kill a sheep and freeze his ass off all night in the sheep bed. People aren't willing to do that, or willing to put the time and dedication or the financial freedoms and different things to not go to Disneyland and not go to Hawaii 3 times a year to be able to do this. And like for me, I feel like I'm always working. I mean, I was working on my airplane today. I was working on taking off some landings. I was adjusting my shocks. All this stuff leads to being a better hunter, to be a more effective tool with my airplane, to access places other people can't go. I don't drink. I don't frickin' mess around with drugs. I don't smoke. I don't play video games. I am busy all the time. And I think that all leads to being successful in life and hunting, entrepreneurship, and your marriage, all that stuff. And I think it's multifaceted, not just like, oh, that guy's a really good shot, or, oh, he's in really good shape. I know tons of people are in really good shape that want to quit day 2 in Alaska because it's hard and it's raining.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it takes a whole bag of tricks to really make yourself successful, either hunting or just in life in general. And being busy for me is what does it for me. I can't just sit around and be idle, you know?
Yeah. And we're going to have to do this again because we didn't talk about that part of it. And we talked about maybe discussing that aspect of it where it's like, we're not idle. We're not wasting our life on fucking Netflix and video games. There's things that make us better as men. and men need to take that accountability to improve who they are as men, as humans, as hunters. You know, there's a few things you and I might disagree on. Like I've had 2 whiskeys since we've been recording, man. But I'm good with
Jim,
that.
I've drank enough to kill 4 Indian reservations. Okay? So, you know, not a big deal. You know, I'm LDS
no,
and stuff.
I
I don't drink anymore.
I get it.
I tell people, like, do what you want. You know,
totally cool.
I just choose not to.
It's just a difference of, like, it's one of those things, like, you and I feel like we're going to always get along. We're going to have to do this again. It doesn't matter. You know, I might have a whiskey, you might not. That's fine. The difference is our end goal and our focus is the same. And we have this thing where there's this mentality of self-reliance and independence that I think a lot of people lack within America, and they get stuck in these lives of living in a cubicle and going home to this fucking basic routine that bores the soul of the average man and woman, and we don't live that, and I think that's what's important.
Well, it's that too, but it's also with hunters too, and I will say this
for sure.
And I will tell people, like, we're going out there. Your objective is to take the life of an animal. So don't tell me it was a fully successful trip and come back with flowers and sunset pictures. I tell my kids, we go on a hunt. I said, look, here's the mission. We want to kill a caribou. We want to eat it. We want to kill any caribou because we're starving and we don't have any caribou meat and it's August 1st and the young ones are super good. We'll shoot anything. Yeah. And if we don't kill a caribou, I'd say, okay, kids, we failed. We're going to learn from this. We're not going to fail again because I want to come home with a caribou. That is the goal. And people get pissed about that, oh, it's not this. It's not about the kill. I'm like, if it's not about the kill, go play video games or golf. Okay?
Yeah. Why do it?
We're going out there to kill an animal. I will still say I love the camaraderie. I love hanging out. I love the 95% talking crap to my buddies and quoting Step Brothers, the movie, because it's super fun and it's rainy and it sucks and the hunting, we haven't seen anything in 4 days. But I'm there to kill an animal. And I'm there to kill a big animal. And that's the point I'm trying to make. And people are like, oh, it's not about that. It's about this and the creation, this. I'm like, okay, cut the shit. Come on. Let's get real.
Yeah. Well, for sure, brother. Man,
that's going to offend some people. And if they get mad, they can lick my sack. So.
No, it's cool, man. That's what we do on this show, man. I am the poster child of offending everybody out there, and I'm cool with that, dude. I don't care.
That's great, dude.
I just want people to be who they are, and that's, I said this, you know, I had Aaron Snyder on the show a couple weeks ago, and so the video,
he don't hold back.
No, I don't. He doesn't. And the video I made to promote that, I'm trying to make these videos every time I release an episode, you know, and I make these little videos.
Oh yeah,
talking
to pull
about
it off, make a reel or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one of the things I said is because I do get this question a lot. They're like, what do you look for in a podcast guest? Like, why do you choose so and so versus so and so kind of thing? And for me, I don't care if you're some prolific killer. I don't care if you only kill 400 class bull elk. I don't care if you only, you know, do this, do that, whatever. For me, it's authenticity. I want somebody that is authentic to themselves, to the hunting space. They're not a bunch of phony motherfuckers. They don't just whore themselves out to whatever
it's the product. Same on Instagram versus
it's the same thing. Like, and that's what I feel like with you, man. Is I feel like you and I can have this discussion, and tomorrow I can get on a plane, fly up to Alaska, and you and I would have the same discussion in person as friends.
Well, you've met me in person. We've BS at the banquet, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and you want authentic here. You can make a reel out of this. I'll tell people right now. If you're offended, it's not a dick bone. Don't take it so hard. You know, that's a sales pitch for you, bud. People get all spooled up about Instagram, this and that. I said, dude, I do it for business. I could care less about followers. I've taken 1 year sabbaticals off Instagram. I don't care. I don't care about YouTube. It doesn't make me any money. It makes sells a little bit of fur here and there, but it's like, it's all make believe. This social media thing is all what you want people to see. Yep. Mine's authentic. 90% of people's is BS, but why are we so spooled up about it? Get out there and spend time with your kids and hunting. That's what I tell people. Quit crying to me about so-and-so or whatever. I don't care. I have bigger problems in my life.
Dude, it's such a great message. That's such a great message. Get out with your kids
the dick
and go
don't
hunting.
It's so hard. Oh, I thought it was dick bone one. Okay.
The wolf dick bone, man. I'd encourage people to go to Grenda89 at Grenda89 on Instagram and check out that dick bone video. It's pretty funny. And so
Next viral.
Oh my God, it's gonna be so viral, dude, because you like skinned it out right there in front of the camera. And then the other one you posted about, your secret move or whatever. I just love that stuff, man. It's authenticity that makes it for me, and I feel like you fill that void that's out there in a lot of the hunting space, hunting social media, whatever. So we're gonna have to do this again, man. I feel like we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, real quick, I do want to plug this in there. That wolf that I found was a half mile from where I trapped a whole pack of 7, and I think it was a young a young male that didn't know how to kill yet, and he couldn't kill a moose by himself, and the caribou had migrated out of there for the winter, and he was literally like starved to death. He was skin and bones, and that was all he was. And
yeah, that's probably true, man. Yeah.
There was nothing to it. A small skull. His skull wasn't caved in. He had no bullet holes. He had no snare on him. I never lost any gear. And my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Dick's a dick. I'm locking this thing off."
You're gonna get the dick bone.
That's where that video came on. Yeah, you see an animal out there, you better whack that thing off right away. So, yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. It's been fun. It's probably the best podcast I've ever done. Just been great BS with you, and I'd love to come back on.
Let's do it, man. We're just gonna have to set this up as some, a few times a year we get on and we just air our grievances, if you will, and whatever, man. So again, those of you listening, all this information on Adam is going to be in the show notes. So if you want to check it out. I would encourage you for sure to check out Adam's Instagram. Again, like Stuck in the Rut is probably the most, if not the most, authentic hunting YouTube channel out there. It's super educational. It's not only educational, but it's also entertaining. Really good stuff, guys. What you do, what Tom does, what Travis does, like your wife, everything is just that comes out of Stuck in the Rut is just great stuff. We can all relate to it. We can all learn from it, and we can all just laugh along with you guys. The stuff you put out is fucking dynamite. I don't care, Tom.
I appreciate it.
if you're listening, I apologize about the F-bombs I dropped, brother.
Tom gets pissed at me for any of my cuss words. I will throw this in there. Anyone can pick up a rifle and kill an animal, even a big animal, and get on video. It's not the easiest thing, but the hard thing is the hours and hundreds of hours a year Tom puts into editing. So we're all super grateful.
Yeah.
Stuck in the Rut wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Tom continually doing that, looking at the analytics, how to do it, and how to put it on YouTube, and how to keep from getting censored. So that's why we have a Stuck in the Rut, is because of Tom.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not behind the scenes, but I totally believe what you're saying on that level. And so, Tom, again, I apologize for my foul mouth, brother. God bless you. I think highly of you. I think highly of Adam. Adam, you stick on the line. But again, lastly, really appreciate you joining me on the show, man.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You made it! That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Western Huntsman and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.